No, that's McIntyre number 1.
Yeah, I'm
but
trying to find
McIntyre
number 2.
is
I'm going through
the
it.
close-up of the Secret Service car.
If not, I'm gonna. It's the. Oh, okay. You know what? I'm just gonna pull it up from my YouTube channel because I know when I interviewed you on this, we had it. So let me go ahead and pull it up real fast. It's the first one, right? It's not the second one. Cory?
It should be. It should be. Yeah. So basically, what you have is those 2 Secret Service agents, John Reedy and Paul Landis. Paul Landis is still alive, and he recently made the claim that he planted the magic bullet, which is a complete fiction. I don't know why he would even come out and say that. But ultimately, John Reedy claims to have gotten off the Secret Service car and attempted to run to the president's limousine, but that he was recalled by Emery Roberts, who was in the passenger seat.
This it, right?
That's it. That's Alton's number 7. It should be right after that.
Hold on, I'm pulling it up.
There you go.
There we go. This is it, right?
Yeah,
Okay, guys, it's up right now. If you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, I have the picture there so everyone can see it. I'm sharing it on screen.
So the list on the left, we can add in Dave Powers. Dave Powers is the guy with the glasses who was marked as number 5. Okay, so that when I did this, I just had that name missing. So, but I've redone this photograph with the indicators to correct it.
Okay.
In my newer work. So,
it's up right now, guys. Click the live stream on X, and you guys will see the picture that he's referring to, so you have a better thing. But go ahead, Cory. You can describe what we're seeing here.
John Reedy says he runs to the president's limo and comes back, but we don't see that in the Zapruder film whatsoever. He then says that at that time, he then enters the front row of seats in Dealey Plaza. But here, we're well past Dealey Plaza, and he's not in the front row of seats, okay? He entered the 3rd row of seats. And we know he entered the 3rd row of seats because Paul Landis, the other Secret Service agent, he enters the 2nd row of seats in Dealey Plaza, okay? He will claim in his statement, go back to McIntyre number 1, go back to the previous one. Yeah.
Got you now.
Right there.
This one?
Go forward a little, there you go, right there. Okay, so he claims that he stayed on the vehicle and went under the triple underpass, but he didn't. He entered the 2nd row of seats, and in Dealey Plaza, probably at the triple underpass, because it's not seen in the Zapruder film, but there's a lot of things that should be there that aren't in the Zapruder film. As you'll see in this McIntyre photo number 1, there are no longer 2 Secret Service agents on the side of the car because they both entered the 2nd and 3rd row of seats.
And again, guys, the video version of this is pinned to my X profile right now, so you can literally, if you're in the space, that's fine, but you can, if you want to see what he's talking about here, click the top video that's pinned to my profile, and you'll be able to see this visually. Go ahead, keep going, Cory.
It's also in the Jumbotron at the top of the space. There's also other important information in there, guys. So.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Thanks, Ivy. So go ahead.
These are my conclusions based on all the evidence that I've gone over in Dealey Plaza, witness statements, these photographs, everything. So both Secret Service agents will enter the car in Dealey Plaza in the 2nd and 3rd row. If you look here, it's kind of hard to see here, but there's 3 people in the 2nd row. And those 3 people are Dave Powers, Paul Landis, and then Kenneth O'Donnell, who's being blocked mostly by Bill McIntyre. So you have the 2 Secret Service agents in the 2nd and 3rd row, and now you have 2 other people on the side of the car. Now, the man on the right side, the taller man, is David Morales. That's the CIA spook from the JM Wave station. When you zoom in on it and look at the modern photos, it's clearly David Morales.
Right now, I'm going to go to it because I think we did. There we go. Boom. There it is.
That's David Morales. Clearly David Morales. And the man on the left is Jack Valenti. So, Jack Valenti, when I spent a lot of time debunking his alibis, and the reason I got turned on to Jack Valenti in the first place was because I caught a lie in his statement. See, this guy, he goes on to be the Motion Picture Association of American director for 40 years.
Hold on. Yo, shut up. Your fucking mic sucks, dude.
We can't really hear you guys.
You guys can't hear us?
No, it's like very, very choppy.
I think it has to do with the internet connection, or not the internet.
Okay, I know what I got to do. I'm going to close some of the tabs.
Frames from the... Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm going to close some of the tabs. Give me 1 sec. That's what it is, because I got a lot of tabs here. Let me close some of this shit out. Okay.
CPU overload.
Yeah, I'm going to close some of the tabs. Give me 1 sec. This should fix it. Okay. Is that better? Is that better now?
If it doesn't fix it, you might need to get out and come back.
I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to refresh. I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to refresh the page. I'm going to just refresh my browser. Give me 1 sec. All right. Reconnect. Bam. All right. All right. Is that better, guys?
Ah, much
Way
better.
better.
Good. All right. Shoot. Okay. Sweet. Go ahead. So I got right now on screen, guys. Jack Valenti and David Morales.
So basically, you have the two Secret Service agents enter the second and third row, and that was to make room for the two people that they picked up, which were Jack Valenti and David Morales. Let me talk about Jack Valenti's alibi. And the reason I got turned on to Jack Valenti in the first place was because as I'm reading through, he was a very prolific guy. He
And
wrote
this
a bunch
is the
of
guy
books.
that actually killed JFK, guys. This is the one that hit the headshot that blew his head back. This is the guy that actually killed John F. Kennedy, guys.
Correct. And so Jack Valenti's alibi, it fell apart for me. This was very early in my research too, so I was fortunate to be able to spend a couple years on Jack Valenti. And basically, his alibi is bullshit. He originally
Here he is being
claimed,
sworn in as well. I'm sorry, when Lyndon B. Johnson, look at him. He's right there again as LBJ is getting sworn in. Look at the look on his face. Clearly sweating, disheveled. You can see that on my screen, right, Corey?
Yes.
Okay, but go, keep going. My bad.
So Jack Valenti, and he wrote in an article that was published some years later that he was following behind the president in the sixth car. He talks about getting into a big car with Evelyn Lincoln and Pamela Tenor and a couple of the secretaries. But then later I caught him in another statement. He said that he got into a smallish van, and then in another interview he said he got into a bus. So it started, his alibi started as he was in the president's motorcade in a large car, and then it became a van, and then it became a bus. And then when you look at the documentation on the motorcade, he's allegedly in the VIP bus, which was the last vehicle in line, 24th in the line of cars. And it was a big Continental Silver Eagle, unmistakable. You would not ever forget that you were in it. You would not mistake it for a large car. So that kind of tipped me off to Jack Valenti. And then I started to dig into where he said he was and what he did, and his statements that he was on the bus and that he went to the Trade Mart, because the bus went to the Trade Mart and nobody knew that the president was shot, but they knew something was wrong. He gets to the Trade Mart and he continually uses Evelyn Lincoln and Marie Femmer and Pamela Tenor and Mary Gallagher and all the secretaries as his alibi. So then I go through all of their statements. They all tell a very similar story. They never mention Jack Valenti. And in fact, in Marie Femmer's statement, she says clearly she hadn't seen Jack Valenti since he was on the bus in where was it? In Houston or Austin, wherever he was the day before. He had gotten on, talked to them, and gotten off the bus because then he took Air Force Two with Lyndon Johnson to Dallas. So his alibi completely fell apart. He then, from the Trade Mart, he says that he got a ride in a sheriff's car to Parkland. Well, that again is Evelyn Lincoln's story. And Evelyn Lincoln tells a very descriptive story about how she got to Parkland, that there were 5 of the women's secretaries and they all got a ride in a vehicle with State Trooper Good, Goode. Okay. So Jack Valenti's story about riding in a sheriff's car falls apart, and that would have made him the 7th person in the vehicle. Not possible. They're not cramming 4 people in the front of a cop car. I was a cop for almost 9 years. So you're not fitting that many people in the front seat of a cop car. Basically, ultimately, he was never there at the Trade Mart. He was on the Secret Service car, and he ended up at Parkland Hospital. Now, what does he do when he gets to Parkland Hospital? Let me tell the story of Jack Valenti's alibi at Parkland Hospital, and you tell me what he did. So, first off, Jack Valenti gets to Parkland Hospital, and the first thing he does is he goes down to the basement. What happened in the basement at Parkland Hospital? The planting of the magic bullet. So I'm going to veer off and talk about the magic bullet here for a second. The magic bullet isn't so magic. The picture that you see is a round from a Carcano. It's not a Mannlicher Carcano like people say. It's just a Carcano. Mannlicher is a misinterpretation. But ultimately, that bullet never hit anything. It never was fired into a carcass or anything. It was probably fired into water or cotton wadding. The bullet that was actually found at Parkland Hospital by two guys, the two guys who worked there, they actually identified it as a pointed tip round from a .303. So that bullet made its way to Richard Johnson, the Secret Service agent, who turned it over to his superior, who then turned it over to the FBI. The FBI then switches the bullet out from a .303 round, which was pointed tipped. O.P. Wright and Daryl Tomlinson were the two guys who were working at Parkland Hospital. They provided statements on this to investigators who altered their testimony. And then ultimately, their correct testimony was provided in a book called 6 Seconds in Dallas by, I forget his name, the Washington Post shill. But ultimately, the bullet was swapped. It was never a Carcana round. It was swapped by the FBI years later. And the two men who found it provided statements to that. So Jack Valenti, in my opinion, no doubt planted the magic bullet, which was fired from an Enfield 303. And the Enfield 303, we have to look at it from another perspective. How do I know it was an Enfield 303? Because they were setting up additional patsies. They were setting up Buell Frazier as an additional patsy. Buell Frazier's name was dropped at the Sportsdrome rifle range as having been the man with Oswald, but it clearly was not. So, in my opinion, that's the rifle that was taken from Buell Frazier when he got arrested that day. Because he was arrested, they confiscated an Enfield 303 and a box of 303 pointed tip ammunition, as was described by Daryl Tomlinson and O.P. Wright. So, to me, it appeared to be a backup plot that never came to fruition. But it would have simplified everything, because if they would have just pinned it on Frazier, we never would know about any of the Oswald stuff or any of this, right? It would have probably gone away as the biggest mystery ever with no background, right? Which is probably what they should have done, but they didn't. So, but from there, the connection to Jack Valenti.
Also, we got Uncommon.
Assassination.
Uncommon also had a question for you. I know he was speaking in the last space. I think he might have something for you. Go ahead, Uncommon.
Well, maybe not a question, but just wanted to point out something that actually did come up in the last space that.
Yeah, bro, they wouldn't let me speak, man. I came in at the end there. I was going to try to bring Cory in to talk about this stuff, but I guess we got there like when you guys were wrapping up, so.
Yeah, it was mostly
he was
MAGA.
one of the few people. He was one of the few people that weren't brain dead. I was speaking there too. I was like, this guy's a breath of fresh air.
Oh, let me guess. They all was scared to talk about the Israeli connection, right? As usual.
Well, it almost felt like a limited hangout, almost. Like not only were they afraid to talk, they weren't afraid to talk about it. That would be. They let us speak, so like we at least got to give them credit for that. But they also, I feel like they obfuscated a lot. Like literally, I jumped in there tonight because I was like, oh, there's 6,000 people in here. Let's see what they're talking about. And they gave me the opportunity to speak. I was like, this is a good opportunity to get, what I think is the truth out there, which is obviously the most likely connection is obviously the Israeli connection. For you don't even have to get into the details. It's like Israel killed JFK because they wanted nuclear weapons. That's the basic thesis. It makes total sense when you look at all the players. Obviously, Cory does spent his like 7 years on it. I've only, I'm a rookie compared to him, but it's pretty obvious when you look at it. It's like, yeah, like you got Permindex, you got all these players, you got Jack Rubenstein, whatever. I think some people that are kind of connected to it know. But it seemed like they were obfuscating a lot. One of the guys was saying, oh, like when you look at these documents, it's clear that the Russians were really behind it. I was like, dude, that literally doesn't even make sense. Like, why? I was like, you're saying that our government has been covering for the Russians for 60 years? He's like, yeah, they wanted to prevent World War III. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? But anyway, I do want to point out something good that did come up. They had a CIA guy on there, and he said that if there are any foreign intelligence implications, the CIA wouldn't be able to release them no matter what, because it would be against their policy. And it makes total sense because let's say they did implicate the Israeli Mossad in some of the documents. The Mossad's not going to give them information on the way back. Also, we know that our CIA is essentially run by the Mossad or whatever. I mean, they all work together. It's all one conglomerate, right. Jewish power conglomerate. We all, some of us in the know obviously know that, maybe others don't, but the point still stands is that the reason that you're never because like some of these people were looking at it like, look, see, it doesn't show any of the Israeli connections. It's like, yes, you dummy, it can't show us any of the Israeli connections because they are literally that's who they've been covering for, and they literally can't give us that information. So I think that is good information though to know. Like, not only it's not even possible, I think, for them to show us that that would have the Israeli Mossad connections, I guess, is kind of the major point.
So one interesting thing that I did hear in that space, though.
Yeah, finish what you were going to say, and then I wanted to throw it back to Cory so he can finish his thought from before.
Yeah. So this goes along with Cory's research, right? One thing I did hear that was interesting in that space when I was there. One guy said that when he joined the agency in the 90s, they were still telling the CIA guys that were working there the cover story for the 1979 Iranian embassy hostage rescue mission. They were still telling him while he joined the cover story. Meanwhile, the actual reality was totally different. And he said that the rationale behind that is that they might have to, reuse some of the methods or the tactics that they used, or other foreign intelligence agencies were involved. So that's kind of what his explanation was. But Ryan basically said, like, the things that he's used to put cases together have been outside research. People that have spilled, people that have leaked, the stripper that was basically blown off when she was trying to give her story, that sort of thing. So that's probably where you're pulling your research from, right, Cory?
Well, a lot of my research has come from non-Kennedy related documents, stuff on the mob. I spent a long time on the mob, and like I haven't spent a lot of time on the Israeli American stuff in the 50s, like the New Mex stuff. Ryan Dawson is the expert on that, so I just kind of left him to it. But I didn't go to any books. I got all my stuff directly from documents. I didn't touch books for like 5 years, and that was just to fill in some gaps if there were any. And that's like my biggest thing. Like the documents tell us so much. To read other people's books and to read their interpretations of things based on faulty premises is always a bad thing. So when do your own research means not reading books. It means reading documents. And the best documents that are Kennedy related are unquestionably in the John Armstrong collection. John Armstrong has a collection of 100,000 pages of documents at Baylor. It's the best in the world. And after that, Harold Weisberg's collection is great. And because they did a lot of their own investigation above and beyond what the FBI did, right? And then you have Jim Garrison, who is like the GOAT of Kennedy people. He knew what happened. He knew Israel was behind it by the time he died, but he never really said that. That was kind of the thesis of his unpublished book that he wrote towards the end of his life. So,
Cory, what's your opinion on Michael Collins Piper's work, Final Judgment, or have you read that? Or
yeah, of course. That's a pillar of that's okay. So there's only a handful of researchers that Ken Kennedy I really respect. All the rest of them suck. You got Michael Collins Piper, John Armstrong, Michelle Mehta, who wrote the book on CMC, Centre Mondial Commercial. Honestly, I got to throw Dawson in on the list. Ryan Dawson got me started on my Kennedy research years and years and years ago. But he got a shit ton wrong, period. Like in hindsight now, he got a lot of stuff wrong. Conclusions, same, but the ways and means totally different. And who else? Doug Valentine wrote the books on the CIA. If you haven't read Strength of the Wolf and Strength of the Pack, that's the foundation of understanding the CIA. That's it. I can't really think of anybody else I'd add to that list. So, Hank Albarelli. Hank Albarelli is amazing. Hank Albarelli's book, Coup in Dallas. I'm so glad he wrote it because it substantiated a lot of the things that I had come to conclude, that Otto Skorzeny was QJ Win along with Jean-Pierre Lafitte, and that Skorzeny was 100% in Dealey Plaza that day. That was confirmed in Albarelli's book, Coup in Dallas. So, and also the companion book to that is by Ralph Gannis. It's called The Skorzeny Papers. Amazing stuff, really. And so, but that stuff you're not going to read about Skorzeny in the goddamn FBI and CIA releases. You know what I mean? Like, give me a break, because Skorzeny connects right back to the Nazis and all the post-war stuff they were doing down in South America and the Galen organization. And they're never going to want to talk in depth about what the Galen organization did. There's enough books and stuff out there on that already. But that's what that all leads to, And Galen was still in the mix in '63 somewhere. That guy, being the tactical mastermind that he was, had absolutely some kind of consultant involvement on this, without doubt. I mean, he was the best in the world at intelligence. So
Cory, so you think basically that all of these documents that, because it looks like they're going to release this stuff in a wave. Do you think we're going to see anything with Israel in these documents? Because you're saying most of the Kennedy stuff you found out about, you actually didn't even get it from Kennedy files. You got it from other stuff.
Right. Exactly. And that's where you're going to find the Kennedy stuff and the other stuff. Right. So this is all a fluff job, period.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, how are you supposed to validate what's even real?
Cover up.
And not even real.
Mm-hmm. And you got to think the FBI fabricated evidence. They altered statements. Are they going to admit any of that? No. A lot of the stuff they don't want to release, I think, will just be embarrassment. Like, hey, we lied to you. Sorry. Can they actually tell us that? No. They can't. Their hands are tied. When it comes to the real thing, their hands are tied. They'd have to spill the beans on Israel, how they were in bed with the mafia for 50 years. The whole kit and caboodle. They can't admit that because it'll embarrass us on a world stage.
And you guys brought up a good point too, that like we have another intelligence service that has an incentive to keep this stuff classified. So that might be the other reason too why, because Nick Fuentes actually posted about this earlier today, and I was like, oh shit, where he basically showed, it said CIA said it's okay to clear this stuff, but Israeli intelligence did not apparently. And I got it up on screen right now if anybody wants to look. It goes, from the JFK files, the CIA has no objection to declassification and or release of information as document except these words. And then it goes, except brackets, Lee 8/7/1998, and then it goes, boom, you see the Israeli intelligence service in brackets. So, I mean, that's kind of a smoking gun that Israel did in fact not want this stuff coming out for obvious reasons. And crazy stuff.
I've seen
dude.
people try to connect like Oswald to the Israelis because of Reuben Ephron, right? And but that to me is irrelevant. When you come to understand Oswald and who he was intimately connected to, it was not the Israelis. It was CIA people.
Shit.
Interesting how they call themselves Israeli intelligence service rather than Mossad, ISIS.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Definitely.
this was from 1998, but yeah, I mean back then I don't even think back in it was Mossad founded in 1963. They probably were. Let me look. They probably were.
They popped up around the same time as every other intel agency, because you got to think 1947 was not just the birth of the CIA.
1949.
Yeah,
December
1949.
13th,
So yeah,
1949.
they did exist back then.
Starting in 47, there was the launch of the 17 different intelligence agencies around the world, right? Well, the BND came a little later. The BND came around, I think, 56, but it was in the works with Galen all that time. So there was all the official intelligence agencies kind of came to formation post 47 in that couple year period following World War II, with this like new post World War II order of things. And you have the war ends in 45, the OSS goes away.
Yep.
And then
Comes
the CIA doesn't come up till 47, right? But those years, 45 and 46, those were some busy years. You got to think they funneled all the Nazis out of Europe and North Africa through the rat lines, right, to South America. Like people talk about paperclip as being a big deal with those scientists. Like that's nothing. Operation Rusty with Galen is what basically exported. I've seen numbers as high as 210,000 Nazis, into South America, and some of them came to America and changed their names and got, just went about their business, right? So,
hey Cory, let me ask you
There
this.
was a small event called Bretton Woods as well. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, right.
Cory, let me ask you this. What about I know your expertise is JFK, but what's your thoughts on RFK?
I haven't really paid any attention to RFK or any of that stuff because once you understand who did it, it's the same people who did it, right? And
Yeah.
so it's not much. It's
Crazy that they still try to blame Sirhan for it, man. It's like, even Robert F. Kennedy Jr. himself, HHS secretary, said that Sirhan didn't kill his father.
Yeah, it was Thane Eugene Caesar shot RFK for sure.
It was like 6 bullets in his revolver, and he shot 8 times.
I think it was like 13. It was like 13 shots.
Yeah, and not only that, but like the kill shots of RFK were from behind.
Right.
So
and very close range.
From very close range, because they saw stippling on his skin, which typically is indicative of being shot at close range. So, yeah, man. For them to say Sirhan when he was in front of him and he got tackled, that's why a bunch of shots were on the wall and the ceilings.
They got blamed on a Palestinian, which is hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, they blame on a Palestinian that can't a Christian one at that can't even remember what the hell happened. So it was like so obvious that it was a false flag. Let me see here. Let me get a couple guys' questions answered because Cory, I don't want to hold you forever, and I know that you probably might be tired. And thank you so much for coming.
I had a quick question for Cory.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Cory, you said you didn't read books until after you did your research, but I'm wondering if you read this one book. I've been recommending it to Myron, and then Ian Carroll ended up mentioning it on Joe Rogan. I read it close to a decade ago. I was wondering if it's worth rereading or if it will muddy the waters for me. It's The Devil's Chessboard, Alan Dulles, the CIA, and the Rise of America's Secret Government. It's by David Talbot.
I know what you're talking about. I haven't read it, but from what I hear, it's a fairly accurate representation of Dulles. But the problem is a lot of the stuff involving Dulles and Bill Donovan and the early intelligence guys is that, and this doesn't come up very often, but these guys were all like knee deep in the secret society stuff, and not like the Freemasons. I'm talking the World Brotherhood and P2, which are like more European secret society stuff. And so a lot of their activities involving Centro Mondial Comercial and Permindex and all that stuff, all kind of fell within this shroud of these secret societies that they were involved with in Europe. That I got too much on my plate to like go off on the secret society tangent. So, but we don't know how much stuff is hidden from us. I mean, I have a feeling there's a world of stuff that we don't know about. So, but that'll give you the
Devil's
premise.
Chessboard's a good book, right?
And that's what I've heard. Yeah, but I haven't read it myself.
Thanks.
I did get a recommendation recently on Barry and the Boys. My boy Jim read that and said it was phenomenal. So that's going to be pretty. I got like 10 books that are literally sitting in my house that I have to get to, all on Oswald. But
anybody else, guys? Because I want to get as many. Because literally, we got the number one guy when it comes to JFK in the fucking room right now. So I'm live streaming it. He's here with me on a Zoom call, so that's how you guys are able to hear him. So if you got questions for JFK or any of this stuff, you guys ask now, man, because this is literally the expert on this. I see Jake the Mullet. Go ahead.
Jake,
wake up.
All right, I'm going to remove him. Okay, who's up next? Stevenson, go ahead. And if you guys already spoke, I'm going to just, like, move you down or something like that, or yeah.
Hey, Cory. So RFK Sr., after the assassination, he pretty much found out, who did it pretty early. How did JFK end up in Dallas that day? Why was he there? He was there for a fundraiser. He was there for a fundraiser. Right. So RFK said, hey, where are the checks at? And a certain group didn't cut the checks. And it was, as a good lawyer and the Attorney General of the United States of America, he figured it out pretty clearly why was he pulled there? And how did these people not cut the checks for a fundraiser? How would they know ahead of time that they wouldn't need to pay him? And it was pretty clear after that. And RFK was.
Bro, what's your question? You're yapping. What's your fucking question?
So, who invited him there that day?
That's simple. Jack Valenti did. Jack Valenti, on behalf of Albert Thomas, representative from Houston, they invited the president to the Albert Thomas dinner to come and speak, which he did. And that was, I forget if it was Austin or Houston. It was one of the two. That was the day before the assassination. And the next day was the assassination in Dallas. Jack Valenti was there like every step of the way. He sent the invite to Kennedy. He handled all the press for the trip. He's the one who communicated the route to the motorcade. People say it was changed. I don't have any evidence for that. I know that it was released on November 18th in the Dallas Morning News, provided to them by Weekly and Valenti, Jack Valenti's company. Jack Valenti, like I said, handled all the press. He hosted all of the events that Kennedy was supposed to be at, and then ultimately he shot him. So to me, this spelled out just the insistence on Jack Valenti being in there every step of the way, to me reeks of something more.
So you're saying Jack Valenti, like the Hollywood guy, shot JFK?
Yes, 100%. When you go through the Jack Valenti file, you find a couple things. He was born into two mob families. He was investigated heavily for violations of the White Slave Trade Act. He was investigated for associations with mobsters, a mobster down in Houston. Jack Valenti had a gambling problem that no one really ever knew about or talks about. This comes out in the Jack Valenti files. He was also a homosexual, and he was reported by numerous witnesses to the mob and informants that he was having an affair with Joe Lucia is the name of the mobster down in Houston. And also McGeorge Bundy. It was alleged he was having a sexual relationship with McGeorge Bundy, right? So not really relevant to the story, but just an interesting, kind of add-on to the Jack Valenti story. But Jack Valenti, born into two mob families, his father was heavily investigated by the FBI. His father was had has got like a 50 or 60 files held by the FBI for everything from treason to faking citizenship to racketeering, you name it. I mean, his father was a hardcore mobster. The official story won't tell you that, but the FBI files do.
So, mother, you're saying basically it was more mob than Israel?
Oh, no, they're the same thing. There's no separating them in 63, period.
The Italian mob?
The Jewish mob. The Jewish mob is the mob. You see, here's the thing. Yeah. The Italians ran the local mob, right? You had Giancana in Chicago, but Giancana didn't really run the show. He answered to a guy named Hyman Larner, who answered to Meyer Lansky, right? And then you got Traficante, you've got Marcello. These guys answered directly to Meyer Lansky. Meyer Lansky going back to, here's the deal. The Sicilians only ran the mob from 1921 to 1931. 1931, Meyer Lansky puts out the hit on Joe Masseria and Sal Maranzano, the two top Sicilian bosses who ran the show for 10 years. He takes them out using Albert Anastasia, Lepke Buchalter, Lucky Luciano, those guys. Unofficially, he takes over the mob at that point. He forms the commission, right, with the 5 families in New York. And he's known as the mob's accountant. Yeah, that's nonsense. He ran the show from all the way from 31 till the end in the 70s when he went on the run. So the mob is the Jewish mob. I don't want to hear any different. It doesn't make any sense at all. The Italians were little players compared to the Jews, who had an international syndicate. And they were connected to the Corsican mob. They were connected to the CIA's heroin trafficking out of Saigon in '66 with Shackley. I mean, the Jewish mob is the mob.
So who was Ruth Payne hosting at her house then? Was it Oswald?
Yeah. So living at the Payne residence was Oswald and his wife, Marina, and their kids. He didn't live at the boarding houses.
Yeah, because actually she ended up after that becoming like a principal at different Quaker schools, like the Quaker connections, kind of interesting.
Yeah, for some reason, the Quakers have popped up 2 or 3 times in my Oswald research, and I haven't figured out why, but so is the Lutheran Church. Oswald's mother was heavily connected to the Lutheran Church, and one of my fellow researchers, Diana Thomas, discovered that everywhere Oswald lived growing up was within a block or 2 of a Catholic, either an orphanage or a mental asylum, which is kind of weird.
Yeah,
we haven't figured out.
Nixon was defeated by Kennedy. I mean, Kennedy stole the election.
Kennedy stole the election for sure. Yeah.
In '60, and Nixon was a Quaker, and there's some just interesting connections. And then going back to Philadelphia.
All right, let's move to Patriots Prayer Network. What's your question for Cory?
I've heard Judith Very Baker give her versions of what she believed happened that day, and being that you have as much knowledge as you do about the situation, how do you feel about Judith Very Baker's version of what she says happened?
She is one of the most full of shit grifters I've ever experienced in the Kennedy world. Everyone should ignore everything that comes out of her mouth.
Yeah, I want to say that I think she's Jewish, to be honest.
She said that she called Oswald and spoken some code on the phone at the book depository. Like, you're a lying bitch. Shut up.
Well, I'm just saying that because I think she's Hungarian or Romanian. She's from some country in Eastern Europe, and I actually did a deep dive on this because, yeah, she basically said that, yeah, her and Oswald.
She's Russian.
Or yeah, Eastern Europe, whatever. But and actually I have it in a clip of a video, but there's a menorah behind her when she's giving an interview, and I thought, oh well, that's weird. And at first because I was researching it early on, I didn't really understand. But then I was like, I think she's a planted counter narrative, to be honest. If you want my honest opinion, I think it was like, hey, let's throw some shit out there so people can. And actually, I think that's what Robert Groden was when the Zapruder film first came out to the public. It was 1975. Who was the person that was the on CBS who went through it all? It was another Jewish guy, Geraldo Rivera, and it's on a Jewish network, obviously, because they own all the networks. And who's providing the counter narrative there? Robert Groden, who's blaming. So now you're framing it in 2 different ways. I mean, I don't know. Cory can give his thoughts on that, but that was just what I thought that they were planning. They had to plant counter narratives because we were never supposed to see the Zapruder film. But when Jim Garrison subpoenaed for it, they had to release it to the public, because as soon as Zapruder films JFK getting his head blown off, he turns around and sells it for like $1 million or something the next day. Time Life magazine says, "Oh, we're never going to release this. It's too dangerous." So like, why would they do that?
Well, you have to understand who was running. It was Life magazine. You got to understand who was running it. It was being run by a guy named C.D. Jackson. And
yeah,
C.D. Jackson,
same guy who also, I think, was in charge when they removed the tie from the picture from the Robert Kennedy assassination on the cover.
That I'm not sure of, but I can tell you who he was in his previous life. He was the number 2 guy in charge of psychological warfare for the Office of Strategic Services, and he was directly the guy who planted all the fake evidence at Buchenwald. all the tattooed skin and the lampshades of human flesh and the shrunken heads and the pelvis ashtray. That was all OSS propaganda. That's all been debunked as fakes. And that was planted by C.D. Jackson, the guy who was running Life magazine, who came to Dallas to take possession of the Zapruder film. So the Life magazine has been a CIA op since the beginning.
Do you know if C.D. Jackson was Jewish by chance or no?
I don't know.
I'm looking him up right now to see. Maze, go ahead.
Maze.
Hey guys, and I apologize. I'm just now pulling up, so I don't know if you guys kind of hit on the latest stuff that came out around Mexico and Mexico City, and I guess whatever operations and surveillance that they had out there, and apparently the KGB. I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna throw.
What did
out,
I say, Myron? I said Mexico City and Russia. That's all we're gonna get.
I'll summarize it for you real quick. We got 1,400 people. We got a lot of you guys in here, man. We got 1,400 on Twitter. We got another 4,500 on Rumble almost, and then another 2,500 on YouTube. So we got a lot of you guys in here. Long story short, a lot of the stuff that they put out, I looked at it too. A lot of stuff on Russia and Mexico City. The bottom line is this, guys. The Oswald that you think that they were watching in Mexico City is not the Oswald that ended up getting shot by Jack Ruby later on.
Right. It was all part of the impersonation and the setup of Oswald in the months leading up to the assassination.
Cory, what are your what are your thoughts on all the, to me, and if you're focusing on Oswald, you're obviously, like, that's what they want you to focus on, right? Like
No, definitely not. They don't want you focusing on Oswald. Because if you focus on Oswald, you'll find out that his entire family was connected to intelligence operations going back to 41. They don't want that getting out. I've studied Oswald at length for about the last 8 months, and I've read every single document there is about Oswald pre-59. And Oswald is not who you think he is.
The person that actually was in Mexico City, guys, was a guy named Kerry Thornley. And, I went into detail with this with Cory about basically they had this guy who pretended to be Oswald in multiple locations. But the way that Cory was able to figure out that it was really Kerry Thornley and not the Oswald that got shot by Jack Ruby is because there's discrepancies in where he was supposed to be at certain times. And also, the Oswald that was down in Mexico City could barely speak Russian versus the Oswald that we know that got shot by Jack Ruby was fluent, if I'm not mistaken, right?
So one thing I want to mention is that, like, when you put together a case, and that's what this is no different than detectives putting together a case and assembling a case. You make connections between things that on the surface don't appear to be connected, right? Like when you deal with Kerry Thornley's interactions with Oswald in 1959, what does that seem to have to do with Kerry Thornley's interactions with Oswald, which are somewhat provable, in 1963? Really not a whole lot. You have to come to understand and bridge the gap between those things. And so what do police do all day? They gather evidence and then they make a case against somebody. But rarely in any case ever is there a smoking gun. So all cases that police make are based on where the evidence points to, right? And so that's what I did with this case. I treated it like a normal police investigation because I was a cop for a long time and I was a crime scene investigator. And so I understand the investigative process very well. And so when I read something from 1946 that mentions a certain street or a certain phone number or a certain person, and then that same thing pops up again in 1962, right? Like there's an obvious connection there. And it's a lot of things like this that I believe that someone with background like myself who's got training in investigations will put together, whereas the majority of people who research this stuff have no investigative background and they don't understand how to put together a case that you could present to somebody as, hey, this is the case that needs to be prosecuted, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing with Kennedy researchers. They don't have a background in investigations. I do. And so that has greatly helped me in filtering out what's nonsense and being able to weigh evidence properly, being able to see through people's witness statements. How do you know when people are telling the truth and when they're not?
And I actually have a picture of Kerry Thornley right now for you guys. If you guys are watching the stream, again, visually, it's pinned at the top of my Twitter profile right now, so you can see this. And I got a side-by-side between your guy Oswald and Kerry Thornley, and they do look very similar.
Well, here's the thing. They don't have to be identical. And there's a book out there on the CIA and tradecraft tactics that I read that basically explained that if they're not in the same place at the same time, if they're not being scrutinized, if someone doesn't suspect that they will be interacting with somebody else, a lot of what happened when you read through the FBI reports and stuff, what you get is after the assassination, you get people who called the FBI and were like, hey, I interacted with this guy like 6 months ago, right? And they'll relay a story that they interacted with Oswald from 6 months ago. But what details are necessary for them to make the connection that that person was Oswald? He talked about communism. He talked about guns. He talked about Kennedy. All things that I can prove Kerry Thornley actually did, whereas Oswald wouldn't have done those things. Kerry Thornley was in places that Oswald's alleged to have been at that I've disproven. Like the entire Clinton voter registration incident, which was allegedly proof that Oswald knew Clay Shaw and David Ferry and all the New Orleans crew. That was when you go through the entire string of events, which is about 6 or 7 different events, which create a string of evidence. Then you can say, hey, that was never Oswald, that was Kerry Thornley. But yet the entire JFK research world is still stuck on the fact that it was Oswald, right? So I forget my point. I got off track. I've been doing this for like 5 hours.
Oh, no. I was just talking about Thornley and Oswald.
Yeah, they don't have to be identical.
Yeah.
They just have to be similar enough so that it tricks the memory of the caller who called the FBI from 6 months ago, right? That's the pattern that pops up everywhere, from the shooting range to the boarding houses, even to the book depository that day, right? So, but most of the statements of the people in the book depository have been altered or concealed. So.
Okay. Go ahead. Anyone else got questions? Go ahead and jump in. Like I said, this is a rare opportunity to talk to someone. Wait, Cory, where can the people find you, by the way, if like they want to like
CoryHughes.org. That's got links to all my stuff. My Substack on Hitler and World War II is really the best. It's $5 a month. Everybody should, if you want to learn the real story of World War II, that's where to go.
Okay, nice.
Cory Hughes Bloody History is my podcast, but I warn you, it is, so far we got like 250 hours of me reading testimony. So you better be prepared to get into the weeds with me as I do these shows. They're not for a casual listener.
All right. Who had a question? Go ahead. I just heard a voice.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Cory, can you go over or dispel 2 of the common reasons were given why LBJ would kill Kennedy, or the military-industrial complex would kill Kennedy so they could continue the war? I've heard you go over it before, but probably good for people to hear.
Good question. They were ramping up the war. Kennedy spent $6.5 billion on helicopters and airplanes 10 months before the assassination. It's pretty well documented. McNamara, it was the Secretary of Defense. You don't do that unless you're ramping up a war. You're not going to do that and then pull out. The executive order, the memo that was meant to do troop reallocation in South Vietnam was nothing more than to put pressure on DM to go along with the CIA, who wanted to get involved with the war. They didn't want American involvement in the war, so the CIA killed DM, and it pissed Kennedy off. It happened in early November of '63. So the idea he was going to pull out was ridiculous. The memo and all the actions the CIA was taking was meant to get into the war, and DM didn't want them. So to me, it's just it's superficial bullshit that people kick around. You know, killed by the CIA over Vietnam. You know, it's what people like Jefferson Morley like to talk about. Ridiculous.
All right. I see Ellis David. Go ahead. All right, Ellis David, no gun on. Jake the Mullet, go ahead.
Hey Cory, I was just gonna ask, can you explain about Harvey?
Just
Lee
so we can have. I'm on.
Yo, Ellis, you took too long, bro. Go ahead, Jake.
Cory, can you explain about Harvey Lee Oswald compared to Lee Harvey Oswald?
Well, let me go into first I'll talk about that by talking about the documents. And I've got, John Armstrong collected well over 50 documents. I have probably more than 50 documents where the Defense Intelligence Agency, the CIA, Office of Naval Intelligence, FBI, Secret Service, all of them in the body of their reports refer to Oswald as Harvey Lee Oswald. These reports stretch into the 1970s. I have one from 73 where they're discussing Harvey Lee Oswald. And Peter Dale Scott did an amazing job when he analyzed these documents. He found that this was intentional obfuscation and that it was used as a dual filing system. Now, John Armstrong took it a step further. John Armstrong theorized, based on a slew of evidence, that Oswald, the Oswald who we know as Oswald, who was shot by Jack Ruby, is not the man who was born as Lee Harvey Oswald and raised as Lee Harvey Oswald. Armstrong's theory was that there was another man involved who went by Harvey. And I started to look into this many years ago, and I kind of put it off for a while. And then when I got into studying Oswald specifically, it inevitably leads to Armstrong's research. And Armstrong's research is by far the best in the world on Kennedy, but he really focuses on Oswald. And the situation with Oswald is that he found in 1953, starting in 53, there were duplicate records in different places of a man named Lee Harvey Oswald. But I found records going back to 45. The first anomaly with Oswald starts in 1945 at the Benbrook Common School where he's in kindergarten. But simultaneously, he's living up in Boston with his mother and a man named Edwin Ekdahl, who was an intelligence contractor for a company called Ebasco, who did work on power plants. And they had a contract with the Soviet Union indicating that they were clearly intelligence connected. But this is the first incident where we have Oswald documented in two different places. And so this is a pattern that we will see that stretches all the way until, I don't know what happens in Russia. I haven't gotten to Russia yet, but all the way through the end of his life. Although I can say post 59, all the impersonations of Oswald were Kerry Thornley and William Seymour. That is in my book. I explain it in great detail. The duplicate Oswalds that are reported and are evident based on the evidence really goes from 45 to 59, including his time in the Marines. And I'll just give like one example. The Marines is chock full of problems. The schedule that he is said to have been at contradicts the known photographic evidence, contradicts witness statements who knew Oswald, contradicts what he allegedly did while he was in the Marines, because he was allegedly a radar operator, but that's blatantly false. That guy was, I can't find one person who can put him behind a radar unit, and to go through the radar program took 30 weeks, whereas the radar program he went through only took 6 weeks, and he took it at Biloxi, Mississippi. And he graduated June 18th of 1957. So this is very problematic, because he was not a radar operator. We have one sergeant named Gajewski, who puts him behind a plotting board, which is that clear board with the latitude and longitude on it, but that's the closest he ever got to a radar station. Most witnesses don't put him there either. Most witnesses put him either in the mess hall or in guard duty. But we have a dozen examples, but I'll give one. In November of 1958, Oswald is alleged to have been out on a boat, and where was he? Philippines. He was in Philippines in Corregidor, and he was in Taiwan. Okay. And so he's supposed to be in Taiwan at this time, but that contradicts the known records of Oswald, who was back in Atsugi, Japan, where he was simultaneously being treated for venereal disease. He had gonorrhea and he had anal bleeding. So interesting combination to have, right? But I have all the documents proving that he was in the hospital at Atsugi being treated, where he got a colonoscopy and all this stuff between those dates. But I have other documentation showing that he was on the Marine diaries as having been in Taiwan, and witnesses who put him there. It can't be both. And this is a pattern that you see from Oswald from 1945 onward. The only explanation is that there were two Oswalds. And people think this is crazy, but it's not. It's really not when you think about it. This, to me, appears to be an old Cold War primitive attempt to get a spy into the Soviet Union, which they ultimately did. So when you go back and you study intelligence, they call it identity transfer. It's actually a specific thing they talk about in documents and in several books. So it sounds crazy on its surface, but I believe this is ultimately what they're hiding. They're hiding the Oswald family and the Moret family involvement in intelligence. That's what they're hiding more than they're hiding anything connected to the assassination, because that will again lead to other operations and other tradecraft techniques. They will never expose tradecraft ever intentionally. And so that's what I believe Oswald was most of his life. I've studied Oswald to the hilt. Like I've said, I've read every single document on Oswald pre-59, every single interview, every Warren Commission testimony, everything. And nothing else makes sense, especially when you get, I'll give you another statement here. So Oswald's allegedly at the youth house in New York off 12th Street, where he gets in trouble for being a truant, right? And he's talking to a guy named Milton Kurian. And he tells Milton Kurian that he doesn't do well in school because very often his brother goes in his place. Well, he can't be talking about Robert Oswald. Robert Oswald's his next youngest brother, who's 6 years older than him. You're not going to have some, 19-year-old guy show up in a 13-year-old's class. So what brother is he talking about? See, it's little bits of information like this that are never highlighted that tell a totally different story, not only of Oswald, but of the assassination itself. And so then my next book is going to be completely on Oswald. I've done a very preliminary cursory investigation into this stuff, and it produced a 5.5-hour video where I explain all my data. The book, when I write it, which will be my next book, I might be working on a book with somebody else in the meantime. We'll see about that very soon. But when I write this book on Oswald, it'll have everything worked out to the finest detail, all written out, because it is mind-blowing what some of the things that happened during Oswald's life, especially when he comes back from New Orleans and he's going to Beauregard Junior High School. I mean, it's a wild story. Anybody not familiar with the work of John Armstrong should check out some of this stuff. His conclusions were all wrong, but his data was phenomenal. So I probably gave you a little bit longer an answer than you wanted, but that's what
Cory,
I have to
I
say
got a question for you. They say all the time that James Angleton, right, when he went and testified in these closed hearings or whatever, that stuff is classified. Do we know what they, and I don't know if they've declassified it yet to this day, like, do we know what he said during those hearings?
I think some of the Angleton testimony is out. I haven't gotten to it yet. The higher you get to the top of the pyramid, the less interest I really have.
Gotcha.
Because we
So
know
they
it was
don't know.
Israel, we know it was the CIA, we know it was the mafia. I know who all the major players in those organizations were. So, like, I'm not really overly concerned about who told who to do what, because it's obvious who the hell it was. What I'm more interested in is the minutia, the fine details, the little tiny things that contradict the bigger picture. That's what keeps me up at night, you know?
Gotcha. Josie, what's your question? Go ahead. I'll try to get some more of
Wait,
these.
Myron, I did find something very interesting.
Okay.
It's a top secret document. It's 31 pages. I haven't gone through all of it, but it says that the CIA got a Jewish woman to go as a prostitute, basically, to Saudi Arabia to get blackmail. And it says it caused some embarrassment because she was found out to be Jewish, and he was the Arabic leader.
I'm confused. What does that have to do with JFK, though?
Well, this in the JFK files.
Yeah, you'll see the JFK files are stuffed with all kinds of stuff there.
Yeah, there was like, when I was going through it, there was so much random stuff in there. All right,
Yeah.
Josie, what's your question?
Yeah, I don't know how long Cory has, but we have a lot of requests. We still have 2 hands. Do you still want us to rotate through speakers, or
Yeah,
you just
let's
wanna
rotate
go
through
the
people.
last hands?
Yeah, let's rotate through people. Unless, Cory, whenever you got to go, just let me know.
I'll let you know. What time is it? 10? I got at least another hour.
Okay, so you guys are in for, this is really a very unique opportunity. We got like 1,500 people in here. So guys, retweet the space. Matter of fact, retweet the space, guys, because like I said before, I know Mario had a space earlier with 6,000 people in it. It's a disservice that we didn't get a chance to get Cory up on there because he knows more than all the people that were up there talking.
One thing, Myron, that I'd like to do
yeah.
in the near future is I've kind of refined my original 6-hour presentation down to like 4 hours or so, and I'd really like to be able to broadcast that to a large audience at some point in the next.
Yeah, we could do it, man. I think you just need to come to Miami and we just do a full debrief on this. I'm honestly, what I had.
I just got back from Vegas where I hung out with Jake Shields and Dan Bilzerian, which was like the greatest weekend ever.
Nice, because like the way I'm looking at it is this, right? And Josie, while you get the hands ready and everything else like that, this is how I look at it, Cory. Most Americans have zero idea, right, of like really what went down. They have an idea like, okay, it's CIA somewhat, but I don't think they know about the mob ties intimately, or definitely not the Zionist, involvement entity. So what I was thinking is that we take one day to talk about the Zionist angle, then another day to talk about the CIA angle, then another day to talk about the mob angle. Then we get in. Now, once we establish all 3 of those things on separate days, then we go into November 22nd, 1963. What transpired on that day, step by step,
hey, what's up, Myron?
Hour by hour. Well, who's this random guy that just came in talking? But that's what I'm thinking, Cory. I think that's the best way to do it, where we break it down by entity wanting him gone, and then on the day of the actual assassination, what happened and what transpired, because there's so many fucking lies, whether it's the single bullet theory or the crazy idea that Oswald shot him. Oh, another funny thing I did notice when I was going through the documents raw by myself, they even admit there that Oswald was not that good of a shot. And to been able to do those shots successfully and kill Kennedy from where he was standing, allegedly, from the book depository, that would have been a difficult, shoot with that rifle, bolt action rifle.
Right. So we have two different tests of Oswald in the Marines, and one was bad and the other was average. So I don't know what people are talking about that he was a great shot. I mean, he came up as a marksman, but that's like the medium range. That's just like everybody else. So
yeah,
Oswald never owned those weapons. He never ordered the rifle. He never ordered the handgun. He, like I said, I don't have any evidence he was ever at the book depository that day, right? And if you're going to funnel assassins to the 6th floor, you're just going to let your patsy wander around and bump into them? No, not at all. It's retarded. So
Uncommon, go ahead.
It's much harder for me to put Oswald in that building than to say he'd be able to make the shot or not. And once you eliminate Oswald from that entire scenario, the entire paradigm of the assassination changes.
Yeah, makes way more sense. All right, Uncommon, what's up, bro?
Cory, what's your opinion on Abraham Zapruder? Did he have foreknowledge, or did he just happen to catch it? I mean, I believe he owned owned a floor. He was a clothing manufacturer, right? I know he was a Ukrainian Jew and possibly a Freemason, but just want your thoughts on him.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, he was associated with the Maryland Belt Company, which was on the 3rd floor of the depository. Some people had documents saying he was part owner, but I have nothing to substantiate that. And I could say with certainty the owners were like Morris Jaffe and Sam Bloom and a couple other Jews. There's a document in the Garrison files where it talks about how everybody in that building was a bunch of Jews and that they were all involved in each other's business, including the nuclear business. So let me tell you, this is an interesting little side note to the assassination. A Jewish company called the Texas Uranium Company or something along those lines, Texas Uranium Refinement Company. They were set up in the Daltex building, and they bought a plot of land, and then they leased it all out to a whole bunch of people to mine uranium from, right? And it turns out there was no uranium there. It was a big fucking scam, and it was all run by a bunch of Jews out of the Daltex building, connected to Sam Bloom and Morris Jaffe. So just a little interesting side note. But yeah, research into that building showed that the vast majority of people who left went to they all moved the businesses together at the same time to another building after the Daltex. So yeah, it was a big orgy of corruption, just like everywhere else.
All right. Who's up next? Josie, who's up next?
Should have been waiting for a long time. So.
All right. Yeah. I'll let you handle the hands. All right. Go ahead to the next person.
All right.
Hey, Cory, have you ever received like threats for your exposure of this JFK?
Nope. Not to date. Nope. I hope they don't start.
That's perfect.
Well, as we get this stuff more out there, bro, they're probably going to try to come after you, man. Mm-hmm. So, all right, who's up next?
Well, I guess this is kind of more of a zoomed out question and kind of like the conclusions around the involvement of Mossad and how this, like, was this really something that was kind of intended to prevent the AIPAC, or what was known as AIPAC back then? It was under a different name, I think.
The American Science Council.
Registering. Sorry.
So here's the deal. I believe it was most certainly revolving around Israel's nuclear program. However, I believe it was bigger than that. When you read the communications during the Battle of Letters between Kennedy and Ben-Gurion, it's clear that he was not happy with anything Israel was involved with. He was aware by that point of NUMEC and where they got their nuclear materials from. He was aware of Sonborn Institute and the smuggling of our weapons to Israel. He knew about all that stuff. And in the letter that he wrote to Levi Eshkol, who was the interim prime minister after Ben-Gurion, he clearly states in no uncertain terms that Eshkol is risking all aid to Israel if they can't get inspectors into Dimona. And that was ultimately Kennedy's goal, I feel. I think he was looking to cut all aid, period, not just over Dimona, but over everything. I think he was looking to sever ties. And I think that is most certainly what got him killed, 100%. But you have to think, everybody has their own reasons. The CIA has their own reasons. People bring up the Bay of Pigs, and that he didn't supply air support, which is kind of a misnomer because the CIA had their own air support. David Ferry was involved. And so I believe the Bay of Pigs was meant to fail so they could oust him, right? And so when you consider that, it just appears as though everybody had their own reasons, right? The mob had their own reasons. So Joe Kennedy goes to the mob and basically gets them to steal the ballot boxes in Chicago, right? 3 ballot boxes were stolen, which gave Kennedy the advantage. Nixon should have won that election. And so then once he gets in office, Robert Kennedy goes after him, and they felt betrayed, right? So they didn't mind killing the guy, right? For whatever reasons Israel had, the mob had their own, and the CIA had their own. But these are all one organization in 63. You can't separate them. Like, it's literally impossible to separate these guys. They're all of one mind. This is the establishment we've come to know and live under. Like I said before, the 4 years that we lived under Biden is the epitome of the Jewish conspiracy Hitler warned us about 100 years ago, all enacted by the intelligence communities. Because you can't control a country without controlling the intelligence, and you can't control a country without controlling its underworld. And so it was a necessary step for the Israelis. This partnership is what went on to, give us COVID and everything else, 9/11, you name it.
All right. Who's up next?
TPC film.
All right. Go ahead, TPC.
Hey, what's going on, Cory? Myron, what's going on?
Yo.
I have a question pertaining to this, because when I see you guys talking about this, it's kind of bugging me out, because back in the day when I learned about this whole Kennedy assassination the car was only a 4-seater. And I remember Kennedy getting shot from the top of his head from the right side, and Jackie Kennedy getting shot with his brain, and then her turning to him and hugging him. So do you think that's a way of them possibly covering up the extra space of extra row of car seat that was there to not show
No, I
that there
don't
was
think
a lot
so.
of people or whatnot?
I think there was definitely a lot of manipulation of photographs and stuff. When you look at like how photographs from Dealey Plaza came to be public, virtually every camera in Dealey Plaza was confiscated by the FBI and sent to Jaggers Charles Stovall, which is where Oswald worked, which is also a defense contractor. Kind of a weird place to hire a communist. But all the pictures that you've seen today all made their way through Jagger Charles Stovall and basically were manipulated. I have a dozen pictures where you can clearly see like magic marker over people's faces. There's a Jew in a white scarf in the Altgens photo whose face is melted out of the picture. So every picture has been manipulated. But in regards to the vehicle itself, no, I don't believe there was any additional obfuscation there other than what I've said.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. That was my question, because that was really troubling me from when I
the obfuscation really came with the Secret Service car, right? If you'll notice, like when you look at the photographs following the assassination, like McIntyre 1, you can't see it in McIntyre 2, but you can see it in the later photograph. They did this kind of leapfrog. Like the lead car, which was like a white Impala, moved to the side and let the president's car shoot by. But then they swapped again. The lead car then gets in front of the president's car and slows down. And I think this was all intentional. It was obfuscation for what they were doing in the Secret Service car. But when you go through those pictures, it's clear that something was occurring other than, they were just driving to the hospital.
All right.
Don, you got something?
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask. So we've covered a lot of ground, gone over a ton of very useful information. I don't know if we've actually covered this, though. Who actually shot him? Who actually shot him and why?
Well, we've covered a lot of that already. We talked about Jack Valenti. We talked about Lawrence Howard, Lauren Hall, and Arcacha in the book depository. Emilio Santana at the Daltex. One person I don't ever really talk about too much because I want to dedicate some time to this is Dave Yaris was a mob assassin, and he was involved in the assassination of Mayor Anton Cermak in 1933 down in Miami when he was only 19 years old. The patsy in that was a guy named Zangara.
Is there like a trigger man though? Is there like one or two? I mean, like I know that that's a whole large.
I can say with certainty 6 people shot and there were 9 people in place. With certainty,
wow.
It's all
Okay.
outlined. It's all in my book. You have 3 in the Texas School Book Depository, 1 at the Daltex, 1 between the pergola and the fence. Danny Green, who's the tall tramp, was behind the pergola. I can't put a rifle in Danny Green's hand, but I can tell you Danny Green was a sniper trainer in the Marines before he made his way to Dealey Plaza, head of the Longshoremen Union up in Cleveland. There with Cleveland Mob. He was there with Leo Masseri, who was the old tramp. And so then you have Jack Valenti and David Ferry on the knoll. Plus you had Robert Bernard Baker on the overpass. People saw him with a rifle. There are statements who saw a rifle on the overpass, but there was no shot fired from there. So
it was 6 people that shot him, and you said 9 that were involved ultimately?
9 in place, yes.
Okay. So 9 in place and 6 that shot. Wow, that's unbelievable. I know that you went through all of it, but just to say it, I'm sure that's pretty shocking to a lot of the people. Wow, thank you.
The problem is that everything in Dealey Plaza was tampered with, and the statements that people should read only give one small piece of a puzzle. And you have to go through basically everything that happened in Dealey Plaza to gather all these pieces to be able to put this together. And it took me years. and years to do this. So,
for Myron and Cory, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious at this point, but do you guys have any reason to believe that even one single iota of any of the information that's released here recently is going to be at all worthwhile even reading? I mean, they've had, 6 decades to go through it, alter it, destroy it. I saw just a minute ago they released about 32,000 more pages, but I'm not too sure. I think it's just going to be cumbersome and almost sort of a distraction because let's be honest, if we had a transparent government, there was 6 decades for any politician to tell us what happened by now. So, do you think there's any validity to any of the files that are released?
No, and I've said this
recently?
before. Like the FBI fabricated evidence, they altered statements, they made shit up out of thin air. I mean, they'll never admit to us they made shit up. They can't. It'll be an international embarrassment on a scale like we've never couldn't comprehend. If they told the truth about what happened, it would be, hey, what's up, Ryan? It would be absolutely devastating for us. So I don't think they're gonna. No, they're all junk.
All right, who's up next?
Jake, what's up? Go ahead.
Hey Cory, I don't know if you know too much about RFK's assassination, but I was looking at the dates of RFK's assassination and the Liberty, and RFK was assassinated 2 days before the Liberty was attacked. Do you think that has any ties?
I couldn't tell you. That's outside my purview. You got to talk to Ryan Dawson for that.
Okay.
Who's up
They
next?
killed him on the anniversary of the Six-Day War, and they killed him because he joined the California primary. He was going to become president.
Oh shit, we got Ryan Dawson in the house. Welcome, bro. How are you doing?
Hey, Ryan.
Thank you so much.
Well, okay, you got someone in here that knows quite a bit about RFK. So you got the JFK expert and you got the RFK guy.
I know JFK too. These files are just what was in front of the review board in 1992. You're not even getting the really juicy stuff. James Angleton ran the cell with Ben Gurion and his goons out of counterintelligence for the CIA, and they worked with Jewish organized crime and killed both Kennedys. This is solvable without waiting for the government to tell on itself. They're not ever going to say anything about the Israeli. I mean, they're committing genocide right now in front of the world, and there's zero consequences.
No, for sure. Well, you got both Ryan and Cory here, man. You got a 1-2 punch. I think that's the first time we've been able to bring these guys together on a space for you guys to ask questions ever, at least that I've seen. So Dawson knows quite a bit about RFK. Obviously, as you guys know, Cory's expert with JFK. So you guys got both people here that can answer the questions on the brothers'
Ryan got me started in my research many, many, many years ago. I wouldn't be where I am today without him. We disagree on a great many things.
Yeah, Myron, I know plenty of JFK. I'm on all things Kennedy. I just hate talking about it for the same reason a lot of people hate talking about COVID-19. I got oversaturated with it, and it makes me ill, and all I get is a bunch of heat for it. So, I don't know. Yeah, we both know about JFK stuff. Cory and I talked privately on Skype for a decade.
Gotcha. Well, Uncommon Sense, go ahead. I see your hand up.
Yeah, can you guys fill me in a little bit on? It seemed like a couple people had written some books and talked about all the people that were killed, that were possible witnesses and related to the JFK assassination, but some of them also looked like disinformation. So can you talk about were there quality people that were killed and maybe why? I mean, I know that David Ferry was killed before he was able to testify, or obviously that he supposedly committed suicide. So I'm sure that's not true. But also, and then also maybe talk about the autopsy with JFK, because that was, I mean, clearly they had to fly him. It seems to me, or maybe to anybody, just obviously they had to do. That's why they flew him to DC to match up with whatever bullshit story that they were going to come up with, right? To give us the bullshit autopsy. So,
Myron, you want to close some more tabs.
It's static.
Roger Craig was run off the road and then murdered. Johnny Roselli was murdered after he testified to the House Select Committee.
I'll refresh it.
We got Chad the next hand up.
Did you mention that Lee Harvey Oswald's mom was a part of an intelligence service?
Oh, unquestionably. She joined the Navy in 1941, and it's been covered up. She admitted that she was a phone operator for the Navy.
Can you guys hear Cory fine now? I just refreshed the page, Cory. Can you guys hear now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Go ahead. Sorry.
The
Cory.
addresses she gives down in Algiers, Louisiana, are bad addresses. They're actually in New York, which is right next to the Waves training program. This was all covered up. This is why I say that the most important documents are about Oswald in his youth. They have nothing to do with the assassination. There's a 986-page file on Marguerite Oswald held by Naval Intelligence that's only referenced in one other file, never mentioned anywhere else. I want that file. Are they going to give it to us? No, definitely not. None of the stuff that I want, none of the employment records, tax, or Social Security records that are absolutely mandatory are they ever going to give us. So, which is crazy because we already have all their Social Security numbers. Like, what are we going to do with it? But they just won't give it up.
Do we know about his father?
That's some contention there. His father is allegedly Robert Edward Lee Oswald. But Robert Edward Lee Oswald Sr., who is the father of Lee and Robert, he's not like them at all. He's a short guy with dark brown hair, dark brown eyes. They're both a little bit taller than him. He was only 5'6", and they had blue eyes. And so it's really kind of hard to say. I'm more of the notion that Oswald's real father is Harvey Oswald, who was the brother of Robert Oswald, who was intimately connected to Marguerite for before she was with Robert and after. So, but we'll never know. We have no way to know. This is just my speculating on the data that we have.
Was he a part of any intelligence services?
Him and his brother were both in World War I, but we don't know anything more than that.
So, all right. So, if his mom,
He had a handler in Oni out of North Carolina.
Oswald did, yes. Oswald did, for sure.
So, apparently, potentially his mom could have been a part of some program to where he would have just been like a incubator.
Right. Yes,
baby
100%.
Okay, that's crazy.
I don't think Ryan agrees with me on that stuff, but that's another conversation.
I think he was part of the false defector program and ran out his use when he failed at that, and they made him a patsy.
And there were two actual programs going on. The CIA's programs were Redskin and AE Balcony. He had to have been under one of those programs. That was all that was going on. All the programs by 60 were reorganized under those two programs. So he had to have been part of one of them.
You know, it's funny. This one dumbass on X is the misfit retard, is what I call him. He says, "Oh, I'm waiting for everyone to like be disappointed when they don't mention Israel in the files," and it's like literally there where it shows that the CIA did not objectify to the declassification. It was the Israeli intelligence agencies that did. Like, dude's a fucking retard. Biggest idiot on X, just like a lot of these other MAGA retards that shill for Israel. It's absolutely fucking incredible. The fucking backflips people do for Israel. It's crazy, dude.
That dude's so funny to laugh at.
It's a stupid fuck.
They named a forest after James Angleton. He did such a good job. Like, when does a country name a piece of land after a foreign intelligence asset?
There you go. Yeah, when he died, they mourned him in Israel. Who has any other questions, guys?
Maze, did you have a question?
Well, I guess I'm just trying to, I feel bad asking questions because like my level of knowledge is nowhere near the detail and the granular level you guys are talking, but I'm trying to kind of understand the Angleton and the Jay Loveston angle, and kind of what that relationship was. It seems like the Jay Loveston stuff was unredacted this time as opposed to what was released last time. And I'm just kind of reading through it, but if it's kind of too high level, then don't worry about it.
I pay less attention to the top of the pyramid than the bottom. So that would be a little outside my purview.
Right, you have anything on that or no?
Do we have any evidence of like...
I'm the opposite. I pay the most attention to the people at the top. But yeah, Angleton was... That's a long story. I don't know where you want to start with that. But him and Ted Shackley they had a little cabal and counterintelligence of the CIA, and they were working with the Israelis.
You can't trust any Jews in any sort of thing like that. They're all going to stick together and subvert.
All right.
It's similar to what George Tenet was doing prior to 9/11, working with the Saudis and Israelis.
But it's got stuff in there about the Hungarian freedom fighters and like how they were resisting Soviet control. And I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just I'm trying to piece it together. But I don't even know if that's as relevant or why that's such a big deal as it being unredacted this time. That's kind of what I'm seeing being highlighted the most out there. But maybe that's just the PSYOP. But if you don't find it important, then just skip it.
All right, who's up next?
Chad, did you have a question earlier?
Yeah, I was just following up. So for Lee Harvey Oswald, do we have any evidence of like, so if his mom was a part of this program and say she did, you know, have her son, be indoctrinated to this program or whatever, do we have any evidence of him being like separated at school or like just weird things where like, oh, that kid would always get picked out of, fourth period and he wouldn't come back the rest of the day on Wednesdays or, just something that,
Well, the
would
problem with
separate him.
Oswald's records all growing up is there's major potholes, and then there's some documents that we can say with certainty are fakes. And so it's really hard to tell. And most of the evidence about Oswald comes from neighbors, people who lived next to them, who gave descriptions to the FBI of these people, right? And so it's really hard to say anything like that. Oswald attended something like 14 schools in 10 years or something along those lines, with the exception of when he was at Beauregard in 1954. But you have so many potholes in the available records that it's hard to say. There's a lot of weird behaviors when you go through the testimony of like Lillian Moret and John Pick, who are relatives, and where they were living at certain times. The testimony all contradicts. Like I said, I have dozens and dozens of conflicting information on addresses, schools, whatnot, starting in 45. So it's hard to say. I'm still halfway through my Oswald research. It'll all be finished by the time I finish my book on it, but there's just too much missing for us to be able to make a determination on that.
Is that like a defensive capability or defensive strategy for an intelligence agency just to muddy the water?
That for sure it is, for sure, because like when you go through a lot of the records, like I have Kerry Thornley's most of his complete military record, but know where I found it? It was shoved into the Jerry Hemming file. And there is no Kerry Thornley military record file. You know what I mean? So they do things like that. You'll pull a file on one person and it'll have nothing to do with that person. So there's all kinds of official obfuscation in the release of documents in the first place.
All right, who's up next?
Not to mention the timing of when they come out with all this stuff. It could just be a cover-up of the Epstein files, what they really don't want to come out.
I find it hilarious. Charlie Kirk put out a page from the declassified stuff, and he didn't mention anything about Israel. Bro, this shit is crazy, man.
Yeah, I was going to say in Mario's space that the likelihood that any of these files will contain anything about Israel the day after Trump personally signed off on the attacks they were doing last night is basically zero. Like, what else would they be distracting from? Like, they're not going to draw more attention and make the American people think, oh, wait, why are you authorizing this? Why are you getting us involved with them even more?
Zion Dawn ain't saving us, boys. Sorry.
I wonder what they got on him. Is it Epstein?
Yo, Ryan, I got a question for you, bro. Can you, and I'd love to hear this because it always bothered me seeing RFK be around Rabbi Shmuley and everything else, knowing that we know now, especially with these declassified documents, that the Israelis were absolutely involved in his uncle's death. Why the hell? I mean, people say that, RFK had a very bad past with drug use and, adultery and all this other stuff. Like, he knows Sirhan didn't kill his dad. He talked about this on the Bill Maher podcast. Why does he show so hard for Israel, knowing that they absolutely were involved in killing his uncle and maybe even his dad?
Blackmail, baby.
When you're a self-admitted sex addict, I give him a little bit of a pass. His father was murdered. His uncle was murdered. His wife killed herself. He got some weird throat disease. He's had not the best cards dealt to him.
Yep.
But he was a sex addict. And in his diary, he's fucking all these women, but he's blaming the women instead of himself. He's like, the damn temptress and stuff, like it's all their fault. And then I have a theory on Rabbi Shmuley. I think his ancestors were killed by the masturbation machine, so he's out there selling dildos. But that guy's everywhere. Like, why does this dildo-selling rabbi know all the world leaders? It's kind of like shove it in your face. Israel wants you to know, but doesn't want to officially know. He's absolutely compromised. And it could be worse than sexual blackmail. There's a little suspicion on how his wife actually, if she hung herself by herself or not.
Okay, let me ask you this, Ryan. What is the Israeli angle when it comes to, was Israel involved in killing RFK as well? Because I know Eugene Thames is the one that killed.
Yeah, Eugene shot him, but who covered for him? John Alessio. Like that all goes back to Jewish organized crime. Like, well, I told you we'll do
Can
a
you
show
explain
on
it for
it
the
like
audience
whenever
real quick?
this week. It's yes, it goes back to Israel. Like it's every time. Every time means every time. And of course, they do this crap during Purim, and they wanted him dead. And then I think RFK Jr. is a fate worse than dead. Like they killed his family. Now he's on his knees with a rabbi. And the thing is, he's not a dumb guy. RFK Jr. is an intelligent person. He knows, but he's afraid to say anything. Even his health minister, he's trying to categorize like mental health of Jews on campuses who feel uncomfortable about people protesting genocide.
All right. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about the RFK situation more detail. What was that name you saved? Alessio?
That's his nickname. Yeah, they ran a bank in California. They hired his lawyers, Cooper, and all that. Like, I can do a proper show. I did one ad lib with Jake Shields, but I can get one with documents and video whenever you're ready.
Yeah,
That's
man. I mean, we can do it.
Doing.
We can do it next week if you want, or Thursday
as long
this
as
week. We can do
before
Thursday
the
this
night.
week.
That's all. If you can.
Yeah, we could do Thursday this week or next week if you want, because I think RFK is something that a lot of people are obviously always interested in JFK, but I don't think enough attention has been paid to RFK. And I think with RFK, it's even more egregious because they did one of the most thorough autopsies ever, and it's very clear the killing shots came from behind. Yet Sirhan, multiple witnesses put him in front, and then the bullets don't match up as far as the numbers of shots.
Thomas Noguchi showed the burn marks on his head. You can only do that if you fire from an inch away. Thane was witness firing. I mean, it's not complicated. The problem is all the kook stuff that comes out and it just gets buried underneath all the stupid. And unfortunately, I don't know, his brother is president, so that murder is like more high profile, but you can find out a lot about JFK by unraveling RFK, because the people involved in RFK are also involved in JFK, and the same with the cover-up, including Earl Warren and the rest of them. Like, it's all the same assholes. And it's much easier it's shorter and easier to explain too. That's why we start with that before I even touch JFK.
And we don't have anything from Thames like admitting that he killed RFK, right? Like, I know RFK was supposed to go talk to him, Junior.
He kind of admitted like he pulled his gun out and stuff. He's witnessed firing it, and then he lied about when he sold it, and we have the receipt showing he sold it after when he said he did. Like, there's nobody else in position to do it other than him, and then he's hired by A Security all of a day by the mob. I mean, goddamn, it's him.
Yeah, and it's funny because he had a clearance as well, which is something else that you would think is a little overkill for a security guard.
Well, the other guards in there didn't have bullets in their guns at the Ambassador Hotel. All the people dressed in brown. There's A Security they hired out, and who made that suggestion to him? And they're like, when you go down through that story, it's like a lot of bell ringing. Let's just say.
Yep.
A lot of ding, dong, ding.
All right. Who's up? And I got a picture of Eugene Thame right now, guys, if you guys want. Thane Eugene Caesar is his name. Who's up next? Any questions? Jake the Mullet?
Dom, did you have a question?
They never called him Thane, though. It was just Gene Caesar. That's
Thane Caesar.
What he went by. He got arrested in Tijuana. Like, anyway.
Dom, did you have a question? I saw your hand up earlier.
I just wanted to. It looks like a new document came out, Myron. I actually sent it to you in your DMs. But...
All right, let me pull it open right now and see what Cory.
Yeah, you know what? You go ahead and just read it to the people. It's got the highlighted portion, but basically looks like it's a intelligence document, and it's talking about an informant statement that was said the day before JFK's assassination, and it's got. Mentions
Is that Gary Underhill by chance?
No, not that one. That was a magazine article, right?
Are you talking about the Echevarria document? Homer
I believe
Echevarria?
so. Homer or something?
Yeah, Homer Echevarria. Okay, that's an old document. That's not new. That's been released multiple times in the past.
That's been newly released many times.
I got it on screen right now for you, Cory.
Our new backers are Jews. This is old. This is way old. This came out first in 1967.
Okay.
That came out in 60. Corey and I talked about that on a Telegram space because that document got re-released in 2017.
Yeah.
Where he's like our new backer. We have new Jewish backers and whatever.
Real quick. Can you guys explain to us what this, for those that don't know, I got it up on screen right now for the audience. If you guys are watching the stream, you can go ahead and, it's, like I said, stream is pinned to the top of my Twitter feed. So go ahead and look at it so you can see it. What is this document here? I know, Corey, you can see it. Ryan, if you said you're familiar with it, but yeah, what are we looking at here?
This is an FBI report, talks about Homer Echevarria, who was an FBI informant from the mob. And he basically says, we've got plenty of money now. Our new backers are Jews. As soon as we or they take care of Kennedy. And that's where his quote ends. But yeah, this was written about by Gary Shaw in 1967. This document is 50 years old.
Okay.
And it's newly released. See, one thing they'll do is they'll put out a document that's been out like 5 times before, and they'll say, it'll have a stamp on it that says like best known copy or something like that. And to them, that's a new release because it's a better copy than the fuzzy one they had before.
Gotcha. Interesting. All right.
Yeah, I saw it in Chicago too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jake, did you have a question?
Myron, do you stream on Rumble too?
Yeah, I'm on Rumble and YouTube right now, and X.
Word. Okay.
All three live right now. So, who's up next?
Jake.
Oh, it's because I'm on Myron Gaines X. If you can't find it, I'm not using Fresh or Fit. I'm using Myron Gaines X. That's my political commentary show. So, who was it, Josie? Who was up next?
Jake.
Jake, okay. Jake, go ahead.
Ryan, you know...
Jake, you're rugging.
Yeah, your mic sucks. Or your internet sucks.
Hold up, I'll come back.
All right, who's up next?
Yeah, uncommon sense. Sorry.
All right.
Hey, I had a Ryan. I had a question about the Robert Kennedy assassination. Did you, when you look at the Ambassador Hotel, I noticed that it was owned by the Shine family, and David Shine was the same guy who helped kind of derail the latter part of, what's the communist hunter's name? Everybody would know him. McCarthy's career. Do you think that played a role, or the Shine family also had a part in it? I was just thinking of it from a straight logistical standpoint of they would need to know if you're going to run the op. Like, obviously it'd be important to know who owns the building and whatnot. But just wanted your thoughts on that, or if you've ever looked into it.
Shine in General Dynamics is why Mickey Cohen was allowed to run a gambling operation out of that hotel. And the Shine family had the goods with Roy Cohen on Clyde Tolson and Hoover, so that helps you cover things up. And might be why the building was torn down and destroyed all the physical evidence. But they did not, as far as I see, have anything to do with setting up the kill. That was a contract killing. The Ambassador Hotel was chosen by Kennedy to announce his, winning the primary for California.
All right.
Jake, you got your mic working?
Is it working now?
Yep.
Hey Ryan, do you know if anything about JFK Jr.'s death is suspicious at all or tied to anything?
I do, but the guy to talk to about that is Mike Rivero. He's been over the whole flight ad nauseum.
All right. Who's up next?
I don't see any hands, so.
All right. No hands.
We got Andrew here.
Andrew Meyer just put his hand up.
All right, go ahead.
You know, I used to work in downtown Dallas, and every day for lunch, I'd leave my building and I'd turn left. And then one day I noticed, I never turned right. It's like I sensed there was some bad energy. So I turned right one day. I was like, let's see what's down here. And I walked a couple of blocks straight into the spot exactly where Kennedy was shot. If you're sensitive to energy at all, it is the most negative place I've ever been. It's so nasty. And thank God Trump was elected and all this stuff is finally coming out. And if people haven't seen this one, the document that's most interesting to me,
wait, how does
George H.W.
real
Bush.
Quick, Mayor, I know you're Jewish. How does it, what's your thoughts on Israel being involved in it?
I mean, they probably were. When I found out that the Zapruder tape was filmed by an Israeli named Abraham Zapruder, I think that they were in on it. But just like all these other ops, Epstein, 9/11, people give Israel too much credit. You have to remember, America's the big dog. Nothing goes down without America's say so. And the thing I was about to say is the document that's most interesting to me is George H.W. Bush confirming he was in Dallas and then saying, "Oh, he didn't know what he was up to that day." It's like, okay, the George H.W. Bush made head of the CIA, made the president, and that was his payoff. I think George H.W. Bush. People are really overlooking his role in this whole thing, and I'm not denying at all that Israel. I think they did play a part. I think a lot of different nasty elements had a hand in this thing. And that's why they were able to get away with it, because they were all in collusion. So, I want everyone to get their fair share of credit, but thank God Trump is in office and all this stuff is finally coming out.
Well, the bad energy you felt might have been the Holocaust Museum, which is on the corner next to Daily Plaza.
That's hilarious, dude. No, literally, I'm telling you, if you go right to the
that would
spot
have
where he
bad
was shot
energy.
in the street.
I'm
Yeah,
not making
funny,
a
but-
joke. I'm not making.
Okay.
There is a Holocaust Museum at Daily Plaza.
That's great. That's not. I was literally right in the spot in the street where he was shot. It permeates. It's so terrible.
That was fucking funny. I'm not gonna lie. That was actually really fucking funny.
I don't see any more hands, so whatever you want to do, Myron.
I saw Uncommon Sense, but I don't know if that's still if that was from before. If not, then I'm gonna wind down the space here. We got like almost 2,000 you guys in here. You guys got quite a bit of sauce from two experts on this. Ryan, when do you want to do the RFK thing? You want to do it Thursday?
All right, Thursday America time.
Yeah, if you could do, can you do 5 p.m. or after that of Thursday, Eastern Standard Time, Miami time?
Let's see, that's the 20th. Yeah, okay.
If you need more time, we could
Later
do 6
would
or
be
7.
better, but
Yeah, we could do 6 or 7. I'll do my show and then I'll bring you in after, like at 7.
yeah, 7 better.
All right, we'll do 7
get up
p.m.
with a crack of ass.
So 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, guys. I'll be on with Ryan Dawson. We're going to talk about RFK and the assassination there at the hotel back in L.A. So we'll cover that in detail. We covered JFK in detail quite a bit. Any last questions, guys? Because I don't want to hold Cory and Ryan here longer than I need to. And Cory, I appreciate you so much. Where can the people find you, by the way, before we get the last few questions here, if anyone has any?
CoryHughes.org has all my links.
Boom. Simon, I see you got your hand
Simon,
up.
you got a question?
Yeah. So, RFK Jr. He's a massive Zio. Does he know the truth about what happened to his family?
Ryan, you want to take that one? I mean, he's got it, right? I mean, there's no way he doesn't.
Oh, he definitely knows about his father. Because he was taking a trip to the Philippines to meet Caesar. So he has to know.
So why do you think he covers up? Just because he's scared for his life, or what?
I don't think he's afraid of getting killed. I think he's afraid of what they have on him. I mean, he went to Maxwell's Easter parties and he flew around with Jeffrey Epstein. We can and he's a sex addict. I think you can connect the dots, right? That's why he's in government. Like all these people, Joe Biden too, he's a little pervert. Like compromised people get promoted because they have to obey.
And when I talk with Ryan on Thursday, guys, we're going to cover the Israeli angle of RFK because there's I would say that the Israeli angle of RFK isn't as pronounced as it is with JFK. So we'll talk about how Eugene Caesar was linked up with them boys as well with the Israeli angle because it's not as clear as with the JFK situation. Oh, we got Truth Teller in the house. Well, welcome, Truth Teller. Man, we got a bunch of encyclopedias in here tonight.
Was good, Truth.
We got
doing all right.
We got 3 guys that are fucking between these 3 guys. They know all of the history of Israel. Truth Teller, what's up? I see you got your hand here. I got Cory Hughes in the house and Ryan Dawson, obviously very well versed in the JFK stuff. I don't know if you've seen the documents or whatever, but the breaking news on it basically is that they put brackets in there saying like Israel's intelligence agencies don't want this stuff declassified, even though the CIA said it's okay, which is fucking crazy shit.
Well, I don't think we're ever going to find out all the details of the assassination in Israel and Mossad and the Jews' full involvement by design, of course. So we'll be left to, speculate. and put piece it together. The excellent way that Ryan Dawson's able to do it. But what I will add is someone mentioned JFK Jr. and a couple comments there. One is that he was a well-trained pilot. He'd been a pilot for a long time, not one to make mistakes. Two is the incumbent senator of New York was supposed to retire, and that position was vacant. And the rumor had it that JFK Jr. was going to run for Senate, and he was going to get into politics. And in '97, he'd released his George political magazine. If this guy had essentially stayed out of the limelight, not gone into politics, and not mentioned anything about wanting to perhaps run for Senate, the Senate of New York, in place of Hillary Clinton, who ended up, taking his spot and winning election. This is following the Clinton administration coming to an end. He'd likely still be alive today if he just kind of faded out in the sunset, but he didn't. And so, the powers that be did not want him to potentially win and, raise awareness or get access to any classified materials, because he certainly wasn't shy about expressing his opinion. And he was, a very intelligent, good-looking guy, likely to become president as well. They certainly did not want a future Kennedy. RFK Jr. is a different story, obviously, but JFK Jr., he was in a class of his own.
Anybody just see that
So
Ellen just
I
got
believe that was
swatted?
no accident, is what I'm trying to say. Neither was Kobe Bryant's helicopter accident. So there are no accidents in these types of instances.
Why do you think they killed Kobe Bryant?
He had a huge pharmaceutical lawsuit that was supposed to start literally a few days following his assassination. That obviously never went through. He was suing them, and so. But
For what?
Separate incident. This isn't about Kobe Bryant. I don't want to digress. But JFK Jr. They didn't want to risk him getting near the presidency, just as they didn't want RFK to risk, because he was running for president when they killed him, and he just won a primary, I believe. And then they took him out. So
He just won the biggest primary, and he had just been started research into his brother's death. That's what he was doing the week before he was killed, was following leads from Garrison and figuring it out. You guys got to realize, like, the
sharp
Zapruder
lawyer.
film, yeah, it wasn't released till after both Kennedys were dead.
Yeah.
C.D. Jackson
70s.
from the Psych War Department that got that, and Cory knows who that is. They only released still pictures in Time magazine. The video didn't come out until after he died. And so RFK never saw that film.
Yeah. If he saw that film, he probably would have won even harder at the Warren Commission and the lies they told him about his brother if he saw that film. Maybe they didn't want to put it out until he was dead. Because I didn't even know that for a bit until you told me, Ryan, that RFK did not see the Zapruder film ever. Which is like, for us, we think of it like it's crazy.
Wasn't really. He was dead in '68.
Yeah.
They didn't release the film till the '70s. Because that film got released is why they did a second investigation where they did determine multiple shooters. That is our own government's official position.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, it's Israel. Pump the brakes. Shut that up. Shut that down.
Yeah. No, man, absolutely
It's
crazy.
also interesting. There's no mention of Arnon Milchan, guy that stole nuclear switch technology, gave it to Israel, and also, of course, made the JFK movie and made sure to avoid any connection to
Dawson,
Mossad
what's
in
your
Israel.
take on the people that say the guy in the passenger seat turned around and was one of the people that took a shot?
That's stupid. I've heard the same thing where they blame William Greer, the driver, for turning around and shooting. Like, it's on film. They're not taking shots.
Yeah, that's retarded. Whenever people say the Secret Service agent shot him from the front, I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. True retards.
I wanted to see what Dawson would say. Thank you.
It's funny, the guy who
words out of my
started
mouth.
that.
You're a fucking idiot if you believe that. It's on film, and it's not just Zapruder film. It's 3 different films. William
who pushed
Greer.
that-
Nobody in that car shot Kennedy.
The guy who pushed that
Or
film was
Conley.
from the Rich Man's Trick film. He's actually been emailing me about stuff lately, which is kind of hilarious.
Oh my God,
That's
that
like-
is the worst. That is hands down the worst Kennedy film ever made. It is the loose
Yes.
chains of JFK. It's like what Europa is to World War II is Rich Man's Trick to JFK and Loose Change to 9/11. They're all the most widely watched and all the dumbest ones ever done.
I was just gonna say, it's like the people that said there was no plane in 9/11.
Yeah, I deal with them every day.
Who's up next?
I got Drew down
Daniel.
there, I think.
Yeah, Drew and Daniel. With Drew.
All right. Thank you guys for doing this, man. This is incredible. Shout out Myron. Shout out all you guys. Just a quick question. I'm wondering, like, right now, especially with everything that's going on, I want to hear what Ryan has to say, what all you guys have to say about, like, the situation with Iran. Like, what's the situation around that, and how is, like, kind of like Mossad tied into all that? Because,
That's not the topic, bro.
Zion Dawn is going hard.
That's not the topic.
Okay.
Do you
I
not
guess
see
my
the
other
title?
question would be then that what's like the most obvious link? Like, let's say if you're talking to an absolute normie, like what's the most obvious link that we found today, or like what the Mossad has to like this whole damn thing, like obvious that's just out there?
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, that was a retarded question. I'm gonna move on to the next person.
I was gonna say he sounds like a normie.
Bro, that was a retarded question, bro. Let's go.
Go ahead, Danny.
Yo, think twice before you ask questions like that, man. Fucking retarded. Simon, go ahead, bro. The fuck
He
is
was
wrong
asking
with
forever to come up too.
God
Daniel, go
damn,
ahead.
bro.
Yeah.
Some people just shouldn't get a mic sometimes. Some of you motherfuckers are retarded.
Yeah.
Simon, go ahead.
Danny, Myron, do you want Simon to go?
Oh, I haven't got my hand up anymore. It must be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's glitching on mine. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So, thank you. I think it's important what Truth Teller brought up about JFK and Junior and Ryan. My question is, we were talking in another space about Roy Cohn and how he was sort of like Trump's consigliere. He was he was labeled as like an anti-Semite Jew. He was connected to the mafia. And so I think the timing of all of this and Trump being the one to put this stuff out and sort of make this
Daniel,
scene.
do you know his first famous case?
What's that?
Roy Cohn's first famous case?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sure. When he prosecuted and convicted Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, two Jewish spies that stole nuclear technology and gave it away, essentially, to the Soviets.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, they were actually sentenced for execution. There was no jail time like they did for Jonathan Pollard. This is how the U.S. used to treat espionage agents, Jewish ones. They put them in their place.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So I guess,
who do I work
hold
for,
on, guys,
Truth Teller?
please, Andrew, please. You interrupt.
This guy just called me a spy. Let him at least tell the people who I'm a spy for.
You're not smart enough to be a spy.
Andrew, please.
I'm far smarter than you.
My question, Ryan. Andrew, please.
funny.
You're very subversive.
Okay, one at a time, please.
Thank you. My question, Ryan, is, there's double mute, I guess. There's a lot of talk of, and it's pretty clear that Trump is a Zionist, but with his relationship that he did have with JFK Jr., his now relationship with Robert Kennedy Jr., how do you think all this ties in with the release of these files, his relationship with Roy Cohn, everything Truth Teller just said? Obviously, Trump is not an idiot. He knows about the things that we're talking about. One could argue maybe better than us, probably not better than you, Ryan. But what do you think is going on?
First of all, I don't think Roy Cohn was anti-Semitic. He was a closet homosexual, died of AIDS. They did disbar him for some of the cases they didn't like the outcomes of. But remember, he was all mobbed out. And someone was talking about the Sheen family earlier. That was one of his boyfriends. And they would appear on magazine covers together and stuff. And a little limp-wristed. But he was Roger Stone said he wasn't gay. He only fucked young, very old men. But that, that's homosexual. No, they were of age. He was just way older. He was a pederast, maybe, is the word. I don't know what you say. There was quite the gap, but he didn't dabble with children. But he'd be in his 60s and it was somebody in his 20s, whatever. It's weird. But he was, he was a closet homosexual lawyer, and Trump knew him in the 80s, just before he died, really. And Trump did a lot of work with Kaczynski and Tony Salerno and Bob Labuti and a bunch of mobsters in New York. You really have to when you're in real estate in New York. This is how it is. His dad had to deal with them too. And so, you get up with mob lawyers to deal with the mob. That's just New York Yankee business. Like, it's how it is. They don't have to agree with each other. It's results. He's making his Trump hotel. But I wouldn't read too much into Cohen with Trump. Trump is a amoral businessman that goes where he thinks the money is. So you can see his positions, like in Syria, he actually landed on the right side by accident. He was like, "Oh, I'm not backing Al Qaeda." He cut off all funding to Al Qaeda, and for a while there, Syria had room to breathe. They were overtaken before he got reinstated. But unlike Palestine, he's like, Palestinians are poor, Israel's rich. He sides with Israel. When it came to Yemen and Saudi Arabia's rich, Yemen's poor. He sided with Saudi Arabia. But when it came to Russia and Ukraine, Russia is the stronger party, so he sides with the Russians. He just goes wherever the power is, wherever the money is. He's like, well, what kind of deal can I get out of this? That's the way he operates. He's like, what are you going to give me? Rare earth? What do you got? What can you give me? There's no like morality or anything. He's just like looking to see what makes
If that were the case, wouldn't he get a bigger payday by rolling over for the globalists in America? Like, why fight them? It's not a payday to fight these people. He's lost a ton of money.
So, first of all, yeah, he has lost a ton of money. He's made bad business decisions as well, as he did in '89 when he took on over $600 million of debt.
How is this related? Talking about his old casino
Andrew,
businesses.
Who came
You're
down
talking nonsense.
to Atlantic City to represent the debt holders?
What does that have to do with him losing money for being the president?
Wilbur Ross, a Jew representing.
What does that have to do with him losing money for being president?
From that point on, Trump was owned because they owned his debt. You understand? So he's compromised.
No,
the Jewish bankers own his debt and therefore will tell him what to do because at any point they can pull the plug on his operations. He does carry a fair amount of debt.
Yeah, but Ryan, my main point was that he was friends with JFK Jr. That's known. He's now close to RFK. You admitted that RFK knows who killed his father and probably therefore who
JFK wanted to know everything about his father's death.
Right,
He was hell bent. His ex-girlfriends testified to this too.
My point is I believe that Trump knows everything that we're opining over today, and I think it's sort of like ignorant to say that he doesn't. He knew.
I think he knows. He told Judge Napolitano, like, if you knew what was in those files, you wouldn't release them either. But they're not releasing the files. He's releasing files that went before the 1992 review board only. But that's enough. I mean, they messed up. Like, the fact that the files say, don't show files related to Israel is answering you without answering you.
That's my point, Ryan, is he knows that that was going to be a main point of topic of conversation. He knew that, and it's happening.
I don't think they're afraid of the world knowing about it. I mean, they're committing genocide in front of everyone, and no one can do anything. So, okay, they killed Kennedy, and what you going to do? Give us more money? Like, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what would happen.
No,
they could stand, Netanyahu could get on stage and eat a baby, and Schofield Christians would be like, it's God's way. We have to.
Yeah, Schofield Bible is a fucking scam.
Myron, is Cory still here? Just I know, like
No. He's here. He's just laugh with me at like Truth Teller and Andrew going back and forth with each other. Clearly, there's some.
Truth Teller's theory is that the Jews made Trump destroy the Bush and Clinton political dynasties and the Biden political dynasties. I guess you should be thanking the Jews then, Truth Teller.
That were memorable with the legacy that's worthwhile, given that they were
I guess thank a Jew today then, Truth Teller.
By the Epstein pedophile ring, we know that as a fact because it was Monica Lewinsky that was used as a bait to essentially try to blackmail him to release Jonathan Pollard sooner. He said no, but instead he released other Jews.
So the Jews destroyed their own puppet. They destroyed their.
Just a question for you. And look, a good faith question. Have you ever looked at the list of pardons that both Trump and Clinton pardoned before they left office? Do you notice a trend? Okay, before you can answer that question, it's too incriminating.
No, I was on mute, I guess.
Okay, you were on mute. Oh, somehow the Jew couldn't get through the mute. That's funny, but there is no mute. You're just stalling for time because you have no idea.
Jews can't be muted on Spaces. We have superpowers. You figured it out. You figured it out, bro. And we made Trump defeat the Clintons and the Bushes.
From Jewish crimes.
Amazing.
And what's amazing is you still have the nerve to be up here knowing full well your people killed RFK, JFK, JFK Jr., of course. Probably would
Yeah,
kill RFK
it was
Jr.
just the
if it was
Jews.
necessary.
Yes, the Bush family had nothing to do with it. The CIA had nothing to do with it. Only the Jews get credit. We're
But
the only
Andrew,
ones that can do
no
anything.
matter how
You're
loud
just a
you
cuck.
talk,
You can't do
Kill them,
anything.
that's right.
no matter
Yeah,
how
only
loud,
we did it. You're a cuck. You have no agency. The
Why
bad
would the
people in the
Gentiles
American
want to kill
establishment.
Okay, we're good with having that debate, but one at a time, please. You're hurting the quality of the show. Myron is live streaming right now. Go ahead.
Someone put in my chat that that mute was promised to him.
Oh, sorry.
I want to point out, I don't blame the Jews. Israel's a country. It's a state. It's got its own interests, just like North Korea. It's not about genetics.
This is a Jewish state, though, right, Ryan? Based on their this national state law, they're a Jewish state, aren't they?
Oh man. All right. Well,
is George H.W. Bush a Jew? Just real quick.
I mean, what does that have to do with
anything?
it?
No, but Meyer Lansky and Mickey Cohen.
Did he have anything to do with the JFK assassination? Yes, he did.
Didn't they want
Yes,
to
he
kill
did.
George? Didn't they want to kill George H.W. Bush when he suspended the $10 billion aid package to Israel because he was trying to get the Jews to stop expanding settlements in the West
But
Bank
the
and
Jews
other-
didn't have the power to
And
get him
just a
then?
quick question.
They
the
didn't
point
have the
is, though,
power?
you're only useful to the Jews as long as you
We
do the
didn't have the
bidding,
power that
but the
time,
minute-
truth teller?
The minute you stand
Why
up
didn't
to
we
the
have the
Jewish
power
cause-
that time?
Just a quick, because first of all, you caused him to lose the election. That's why he became a one-term wonder. He could have easily won the next election. He was definitely qualified. He lost though because he
It
stood up
wasn't
for the
Ross
Jewish lobby.
Perot. It wasn't Ross
Yeah, it
Perot
was
jumping
Ross
in and
Perot.
taking
Nice cop out.
about,
Nice
I don't know, a
cop out.
third of his base.
Sure, yeah, it was Ross. It was because of Ross Perot. That's what
Cop
you want
out?
everyone to believe.
You're
So
a
listen,
neophyte.
guys
You don't
already had a
understand
plan.
American politics at all.
You guys, okay, you guys already had a plan.
You're not even in
Now we
America, are
assassinate
you?
him at the
You're not
Madrid
even in
Peace
America,
Conference.
are you?
You even had three.
What country are you in, boy? What country are you in, boy?
all right. Look, guys. Look. If you guys want to have a debate on this, I mean, I guess I can maybe facilitate it. But we got Cory and Ryan in here. I want to make sure that people that got questions on this stuff can get their questions answered. Then if not, then maybe I can fire up another space, and you can go ahead and go at each other. But for the purposes of just keeping this thing, concise and to the topic, I don't see any other hands here. Oh, Ashan. All right, I'll go to Ashan, and then we're gonna close out. Go ahead.
If you want, people can DM me if they actually have a question to Ryan or Cory.
Yeah.
If you want to keep it running.
And then if we want to go ahead and have a blood sport and have Truth Teller battle this guy in a debate, right? We can do that as well. But go ahead, Ashan. Could be
I put
after.
up Martin Sandler's speech, by the way, who confirms: forget CIA, forget Lyndon Johnson, forget Castro. Mossad killed JFK. And yeah, Martin Sandler, yes, he is.
I just wanted to ask Cory and Ryan's take on Meyer Lansky and Mickey Cohen at the time, because I know that there's significance there and there's a lot of connections there between the two, but not a lot of people talk about that. So I wanted to get their opinion on their involvement in it.
That I discussed pretty in depth earlier, and that's the long version is very long. So I don't know if Ryan, you want to comment on it, but I already talked about this earlier.
Yeah, I talked about it earlier on, and when this stream, when I end this this stream, also in this space, you'll be able to go back and fast forward it. But Ryan, do you have anything you want to add to that or whatever? No, he might not. Is he still here?
I think he dropped.
Yeah, he dropped somehow.
Let me
Okay.
check.
All right. Anybody else? All right.
We do have requests, but
yeah, that's fine.
We should do another space. There's more time to There's a lot of documents to go through. The Jews have tried to hide a lot, but we'll see what else they might have let slip through the cracks. So
Dude, Myron's been streaming for like 8 hours, dude? Wow.
Yeah, we just crossed
he's a
8
true
hours.
warrior, man.
We just crossed 8 hours just now. Yeah, I was contemplating having Andrew and Cory talk about a certain event that happened in the 1940s, if it was really 6 million, but that's a whole other conversation. But yeah,
3.5 million.
Oh, it's down at 3.5. So you're going to get back about 50% of the.
That's what the Cora report says. That's what the internal Nazi
Israelis going
All
to
right.
write a check to Germany
All right.
for the extra money.
All
you
right, guys.
stole from them.
I think he's still on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm still on YouTube, guys. So I'll stay on a little bit longer. But Cory, I know you got to get
I'm
going.
gonna hop
right?
out of here. Yeah, I've been on for 6 hours.
Yeah, Cory's
today.
got to go, so we can set this debate up another time. But I'm gonna end this space. Maybe I'll fire up another one. I don't know if Andrew and Truth Teller wanted to debate. If you guys did, then I can host another one. But yeah, but Cory definitely has to get going here. I feel sorry. I've been talking with him now for a few hours, and he's been giving us a bunch of information on the JFK and RFK stuff. And I want to definitely the JFK, excuse me. So I'll just make sure that But Cory, I'll give you the final word, bro. You can tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, CoryHughes.org. My Substack on World War II is on bloodyhistory.substack.com.
Cool. Go check him out, guys. CoryHughes.org. Also, get his book. I have it right here, A Warning from History, where he goes over the shooters in the book, man. So go check it out. But yeah.
Bloody History at substack.com.
Bam.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Cory, for coming on, bro.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Let me see here. I'll stay on stream a little bit. Okay. So what I'll do, guys, is I will go ahead and end this space because I want to keep it nice and concise with the JFK and the with the JFK and RFK stuff, mostly JFK stuff. What I can do is, do you guys want? How many people we got in here? We got like 1,700 of you guys in here. Maybe I'll fire up another space or Truth Teller. I don't know if you wanted to start it or whatever. I don't know if you and Andrew want to debate or not.
Dude, he's easy work. He's really not a challenge. If he wants to embarrass himself, sure.
I've embarrassed you already many times.
Okay, well,
many times.
Again, the delusions.
That's why you always have my
Jews,
name in your
typical.
mouth when I come into space.
Dude,
that's why you're always crying about me.
Okay, look, I suggest Maze hosts it if she's willing to, or Dom, a third party.
Nobody loses sleep over this Jew. I don't know why he's got such high opinion of himself.
You cry about me every time you see me. Andrew. Cry baby.
Okay, I suggest a third party hosts it so that it's fair, and then also we could put it in the jumbotron right now to send people so we don't lose the audience. So
yeah, Mace, go ahead. You can make it and then drop the link for everybody or whatever.
I wish I could. I have to go to sleep here soon. It's a school night, but I'll probably
as long as it's
Dom,
as long as it's gonna be chill and concise, I will do it. Just not.
I don't think it's gonna be
Jordan's
chill.
a good moderator. I'll approve Jordan. All good. Hey, by the way, Andrew, here's a tip. Tell your Mossad agents to shut the fuck up and not give away so much like Viktor Ostrovsky and write books about all the Jewish crimes. Then it wouldn't be so fucking obvious. You guys have your hands dirty.
Man, you guys do not like each other.
But they're just so money hungry, that they have no fucking shame. They'll sell out their own people just for a book deal.
Yo, what's crazy is Andrew's actually one of the better ones. Like some of the other ones are just completely, will just lie.
Dude, it's just a different type of turd. It's the same shit, different pile.
Truth Teller, you said Stalin is a Jew. Bill Gates is a Jew. You're a retard, bro. A retard. Not on my level. Not even close to my level.
50 million Jews worldwide.
I will say,
are you
Myron
stand by that
Gaines.
you guys haven't reproduced
Myron,
at all?
you are.
What the fuck?
Myron, are you still on YouTube?
Why am I getting muted all the time?
I am.
Myron, I don't know if you saw the podcast me and Mark Lobliner launched. We did our first episode with Laura Loomer last week. You're welcome to jump on that sometime. Jewcast IRL, Myron. You're welcome.
Is that what it's called? Jewcast IRL?
Jewcast IRL. Yeah.
Myron, wear a bulletproof vest.
I commented on some Tim Pool post, and they called his show Jewcast. And I said, no, Jewcast would be me and Mark. And then we actually decided, fuck it, we're going to do it. So, yeah, Jewcast IRL. You can join me and Mark on there sometime.
All right.
You guys ever talk about flat Earth?
Yeah, go ahead, Jordan. Start up that. I think Jordan already went to go start up that space. I'm gonna get off this space and address my stream real quick, and then maybe I'll join in. But I'm gonna end the space, guys. Love you guys. Peace.
Much love.
All right. So that space is done. Hope you guys enjoyed that there. Okay. All right. We are still live on air though. Very long stream. We've been going now for 8 hours, my ninjas. Let's see here. But a lot of information, man. A lot of information. And we still got 6,000 of you guys plus in here, man. Like fucking Lydia. We've been going hard in the paint, man. Can't be stopped. Let's see here. Let me see. Oh, did my camera turn off? My bad. Hold on, guys. I'm fixing it right now. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Camera just turned off randomly. Sorry, chat. Let me fix this shit. Too much heat, I guess. Yeah, sorry. I'm fixing this shit right now, chat. My bad. All right. I think one is back. All right. We're back in. All right. Camera overheated, man. So let's see. Let me read some chats from you guys. We got St. Drew says, can you read me as re-add me as a speaker, please? Sorry, bro. I'm just seeing this now. I'm gluing his dollars to the street. Appreciate that. St. Drew, anyways, respect. Guys, my bad for the bad question. I just want to know some paper trail research on hopping off now, GG. No problem, bro. But yeah, that was a retarded question, nigga. Yo, Myron, I know there's a bounty on his head. We need to get the Truth Teller on the show. Yeah, Truth Teller's pretty funny, bro. That nigga be going crazy on them boys on here, man. Let's see here. Can you Drew, that was from earlier. AJ Sandy Balls, W Corey, thank you, sir. Got you. Bro basically said, ignore my chats from before. Okay, no worries, dude. You mentioned how the Cubans were involved in the JFK. They're connected to them boys. Look up the Cuban population of South Florida. Yeah, there's a lot of them. Don't notice Wiki's early life. I think I read this one already. All right. So yeah, guys, I think we've been going for 8 hours now. We've went way longer than I thought I was gonna go. How'd you guys like the stream, bro? Did you guys enjoy it? People definitely I'm trying to see if there was anything else I was going to cover here with the news, but I think the JFK stuff was like the main news. You guys liked it, man? Yeah, bro, I try to give you guys as much value as I can, bro. I really do, man. Bro, your electric bill got to be crazy, nigga. I'm saying. With how much you guys stream. W shows, though, we appreciate it all. Yeah, no, man. I got you guys, bro. I got you guys. And you guys know that this is very raw and authentic. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'll show you guys some of my shit real fast. Some of the tweets I've been doing. So, we're still live here. Do me a favor, guys. Engage with the tweet. Can you guys do me a favor, actually? Here's the tweet. Like this shit and comment below. Let's get this shit let's get this stream lit. OSS Assemble. I just did a 8-hour plus stream for you guys. Go ahead, like this shit. We already got 52K impressions. Not bad. You know, just comment below. Just come in, click that link, and just put OSS is here. Get the engagement up. More people find the channel. Or sorry, more people find the Twitter page. And we're cooking, guys. We're at 258.2K followers here on X. So we're definitely growing it, man. We are definitely growing it, which is good. Fuck Instagram. They keep banning me because they're pussies. But yeah, look at this, bro. Look at this. Right. The Israel Intelligence Service, the bracket thing, right? And then Israel Intelligence Service, they wanted that shit gone, man. So that's very telling. Oh, we smashed it. We got the 1.4. That's good. So, yeah, man. So we are definitely cooking on X. Definitely cooking on X. What else? I'm trying to think here. Is there anything else I needed? Let me make sure I didn't miss any of you guys. Hard work does not go unnoticed. Thank you so much, Koch. Hail, Myron. I appreciate that. Still here. W Stream Boys learned a lot. Myron, can you please cover the Iran war soon? Yeah, yeah, I mean, I can. I also want to cover the Iran-Contra. King Rich says, can't be stopped. You know it. Yo, Myron, I know there's a bounty on his head, but we need to get True Teller on the show. Yeah, True Teller's hilarious. Cartman says, we cooking Abba ass DG style soon? Yeah, I probably will roast his ass, bro, at some point. Maybe not right now, but that nigga's gonna get cooked. He's got his day coming, bro. That nigga's got his day coming, trust me. He is gonna be cooked very soon. Also, guys, if you aren't already, please go ahead and like the page. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe on Rumble as well. And are we on the front page of Rumble right now, chat? Let me look here. Are we on the pics? I was earlier when I looked. No, not anymore. I guess I'm not cool enough. All right. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to do it, man. I'm going to get off. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. As you guys know, we got a 3-peat for you guys. We got, obviously, Womanizer Wednesday, the debrief, and After Hours. Okay? Love you, ninjas. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, cool. All right, guys. Love you, ninjas. I'm going to get some food and try to eat because I'm fucking dying right now. I haven't eaten a meal since I woke up. I literally woke up and just came on and jumped on with you, ninjas. So, but it's okay. Love you, ninjas. Kobe Covington, I think, is Friday, chat. So, we gonna cook. All right. Guys, love y'all, ninjas. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll cover the news, right? Cover what's going on new with the Iran war, etc. But the big thing today was the JFK files being declassified. Hell, I even changed the title of the stream. So, love you guys. Peace.